Hi, everyone. Hello, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. It is the very, very last day of July in 2025. I don't know what this signifies. Does it signify the end of summer or something, or is it still summer going on? Actually, we've only had officially 1 month of summer, haven't we? Only 1 month of it, just over a month, so there's quite a bit to go. Summer ends on September the 20th. And although it's been a bit grisly here, I'm looking forward to some sunny times ahead, beginning with the next 3 hours. It may be grey, cloudy, warm and very moist outside, but it's all hot, bright and full of zip and sunshine in here. Said it before, and no doubt I will say it again, but a week is a short time in 2025, isn't it? Or is it just the advancing years, and as we get older, the days seem like hours and the hours seem like milliseconds almost? It just flies by, really. So it does not seem like a week ago that we were here. Having what was a pretty cracking show last week. I don't know whether we can equal it. Of course we can. We're going to go way past it or whatever. But jolly good show last week with Hannah. And lots of good positive feedback around it. I've been looking for flags. If you didn't catch the show, one of the things on a very simple level that we were talking about was the old ancient English Anglo-Saxon flag of the white dragon on the red background. And I've been scouting around a bit. You come across loads of Welsh dragons. They're everywhere. So, and I do understand. I'm not cross about this. I grew up looking at Welsh dragons. No doubt many of you did too. So the arrival of a nice white English Anglo-Saxon dragon was a bit of a novelty to me, although I've been looking at it, I think, on and off for the last few years on certain websites that, of course, are looking at inspiring those of us in this nation. But in terms of the amount of stuff you can get on the Welsh dragon, it's considerably more at this moment in time. But hopefully things will get corrected as we move along. So there's all sorts of little ideas around that kind of stuff. I did a little promo for the show earlier today, stuck it up on X and sent it around Telegram and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you caught it, but if you did, you will know that I mentioned that at that point, which was about 2 o'clock this afternoon, I wasn't sure whether Monica Schaefer would be with us or not because I'd not heard from her. She's normally so punctilious, I think that's the right word, with all this kind of stuff. Anyway, she has got back to me. She'll be rocking up here onto the show just in about an hour's time. Top of the hour, the end of this particular hour. So we look forward to Monica's company. It'll probably be about a month, because it usually is since she was last on. We've got a few topics lined up, but as you know, if you listen to this show regularly, none of us really know ultimately quite where it's going to go, although we do thunder back to certain core themes again and again. Anyway, that's what the weather's like here. Eric von Essex, what's the weather like in Fockham Hall?
Well, it's been the weather forecast said, by the way, good evening, everybody, and listeners and everything. They said it's going to be thunder, lightning, and we're in a yellow weather area.
Right.
That's a bit strange, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Anyway,
a yellow.
We'd rain a yellow red. Yeah, because they say it's yellow.
Oh, you just disappeared. Where have you gone to?
Am I still here?
Yeah, you just disappeared. You're obviously struck by lightning or something in Fockham. You just... Yeah, you're back again.
Hello?
You're
back
here
again,
now.
yes.
Yeah, cool.
No, anyway, I was... it chucked it down with rain this morning, not much. And it's been a nice day. It's been really nice all day. And I've noticed they're overemphasising the weather a lot now. They say, oh, it's going to be thunder, lightning, terrible. No, it just rains a little bit this morning, nothing much, and that's it. But when you saw the weather forecast, you'd have thought it's going to be hammering down all day, and we're going to have, they said it's going to be dangerous on the road, especially around rush hour, with this terrible lightning and that. No lightning, no thunder. And they did this a couple of weeks ago. And have you noticed that? I don't know whether people in the States have noticed it. They're hyping up the weather over and over again. And there's like a little boy that cried wolf. Soon people are going to say, sod it, no. And what I do, I look at the radar maps and work it out myself what the weather's going to be like, and that's it. So
I've loved it today. I've loved the weather today, Eric. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's
nice.
It's muggy,
Humid.
it's warm, it's kind of sweaty a bit, if you know what I mean. I think it's been a little bit like that. But we've had the most fab sort of thunderstorm this afternoon, starting probably around about 12 o'clock. Lightning, lots of rain. I've just been out for a walk down the old beachfront, as I do. My pre-show ramble, talking to the birds, and hello clouds, hello sky, and all that kind of stuff. And, being the local eccentric oddity in the area, and just went down the beach, said hello to a woman, said hello to her dog, which was there. Very moist, the dog, had been in the sea and everything. But she was quite cheery about the rain. She said, oh, we do need it. I said, well, that's what they tell us, so I'm okay with everything. But no, it's been great today. I love it. It's I can't believe how good the weather has been. And I know we always talk about the weather. I'm sorry, it's just a British thing. We always kick off talking about the weather. And yet I was out for a walk last night, said hello to some people. I don't know who they were. I'll probably never see them again ever in my life. They were bumbling around, probably with a dog. And it was getting a little bit darker than earlier, but I thought, good grief, the weather has really been so good this year. I don't know what it's like being here, but overall it's been fantastic. And it feels to me now more like it's the end of August. I know that's why I was just slightly confused. I'm thinking, actually, we're only a month into officially summer, a month and a bit since June the 20th. And there's quite a bit of it to go. And often we get the best weather over here anyway in September and early October.
That's right.
Look at us, all positive here in England about the weather, which is a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah.
My granddad used to say, all the bosses go on holiday in September because that's the best weather. Mm-hmm. And he was right. Yeah. September is usually very nice. And it has. I mean, I went to Dover once in October, and it's people swimming in the sea. It's beautiful, and this was middle of October. So it's quite surprising. The bad weather doesn't really start until sort of November, December time. Then you notice it. Yep. And it starts all of a sudden. It seems to sort of, one day it's nice and warm and sunny, next day it's freezing, Yep. That's it. So,
yeah, it is. Yeah, a shout out to everybody in the chats as well. I know Eric just gave you the tip of the verbal hat, but shout out to everybody who's in Rumble already. Good evening or good afternoon to you, depending on what part of the world you're in. And also... look, you get special mention in YouTube because it's a little quieter there at the moment, but it's building nicely, actually. So good evening to Sue Sparkle and to Alice Gorgeous. I mean, what are we supposed to do with names like that, Eric? Are they nice names? Sue Sparkle and Alice Gorgeous. Yeah?
So Sparkle and Alice Gorgeous.
It's true. I'm only reading out what's on the screen. I just think it's great.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, is that real? Sue Sparkle reminds me of some name from a show or something, or maybe I'm not meaning to be insulting or rude to you, Ms. or Mrs. or whatever, Sue Sparkle, but it reminds me of that. Alice Gorgeous is obviously a real name, and I think that's fantastic. It's all good stuff. Yeah,
I think it's a lovely name because she's actually on my chat as well, on my show. So. So, hello, Sue Sparkle. Evening,
Oh, that's groovy. No, it's really good stuff. Yes. By the way, we've got a technically little experiment running here tonight. Well, I do anyway. You know what me. I always like to sort of fiddle with my technical trousers around these things. Everything's going fine as far as I'm aware. So none of you said you can't hear the signal. I think the signal's going out fine everywhere from all my monitors. So we're looking pretty cool. But the show's going out twice in this YouTube channel. So if you're on YouTube, you can listen two ways. I don't know why I've done this, but basically what we've done is the show is originally broadcast broadcast on Radio SOAPBOX, and then I've picked up broadcasting on Rumble and YouTube as the months have gone by, which is obviously a great thing to do because we get the chat, and the chat's really the life and soul, or it feeds me and Eric and our guests with all sorts of things. And it's wonderful stuff to actually be connected with everybody. But what I've also done today, I said our guests with all sorts of things. Oh, hang on, just a minute. I've got some echo coming back. But what I've also done today, Eric and our guests with all sorts of things. Oh, hang on, just a minute. I've got something's just gone funny. Hold on.
Oh, dear.
But what I've also done today, Eric and our guests with all today. Where was that coming from? Was that interesting?
I don't know.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Wasn't that interesting? Oh, I see where it's come from.
That sounds like a girlfriend I used to have with a sort of back chat. That was like a deja vu of my ex-girlfriend. So
it's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So we're going out on YouTube. We're going out twice. I'm just greedy for this. We're going out over Radio SOAPBOX, which is just a pure audio feed, because we're all miserly over here. But I've always. I like audio, but we've still got a problem with SOAPBOX in the sense that we don't really have a lively chat space there, and so this really helps with it. So, but on the YouTube channel that I've got set up at the moment, we've just been doing a test by sending the SOAPBOX audio stream into YouTube as well. It's been running for actually be about a day now. I just set it up to see if it would work. Everything seems to have been pretty stable, so it's a test because really running radio stations over YouTube, I think we could even run it over Rumble, is relatively easy to do. I've got some sort of technical. Everybody's thrilled with all this chat, of course. Oh, please tell us about your technicals. But there's a few technical challenges involved. They're not challenges possibly bigging it up a bit too much. There are things to set up, and they seem to be set up and going well. And there's it was fun yesterday because, Eric, it sort of alerted you. I only just sort of switched it on YouTube, and a good cluster, maybe a dozen or so people just piled in. So if you were one of those, thanks very much for doing that, and all started sort of chatting away. And it's so much more engaging when you've got a chat room running alongside stuff. So still lots of sort of detail and scheduling work to do to get these things sorted out. But it's also because I've got a cunning plan in mind for something else. I'm always looking at planning to try and find ways to expand the audience, reach more people, all that kind of stuff, without bribing people to actually listen. We don't want any of that. I couldn't afford it anyway. So there you go.
Backhand of Bob's.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'll tell you something, that flag sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, please talk over me. It's great. Yeah.
But no, that idea of the flags, well, they are okay. We could have the flags of our counties in, say, the back of our cars or whatever. But what about something to go with it, with the words, "It's time," or something like that, just to get people thinking, what's this about? Because people might say, oh, yeah, it's a flag, that's a Hertfordshire flag, or that's a Essex flag, or that's a Suffolk flag, or whatever. But if you just had underneath, "It's time," or something a bit ambiguous.
Oh, well, I like
Any
that.
Suggestions?
I think maybe different counties will come up. Maybe the county men and the county women of the counties, if we can get a head of steam behind it. And it's not just us. I just think it's across the board. I mean, I'm looking at a place to actually sell flags. I think I know what to do. It's just a matter of time and getting it all set up. But we need a kind of an online shop, so that you can get flags. And even, like somebody suggested, Eric, and rightly so, there should be a Fockham Hall flag. And I'd probably fly one, but only on Mondays, of course. But, you could change your flags each week, couldn't you? And you could also get somebody in your close to blow a trumpet at 9 o'clock in the morning as you change the flags over. They're changing the flags. Yeah. It's very appealing, actually. I find it. We just do all these sort of old rituals and rigmaroles in the street and everything.
Yes. Do you ever see that scene, what was it now, It Ain't Half Hot Mum, with Windsor Davis, who's supposed to be in India, and he's got that little squatty bloke, I can't remember his name now.
Squatty bloke?
He's a small geezer.
Squatty bloke,
Lofty, as they called him.
Yeah.
And they're doing the lowering the flag ceremony, and he said, "You used to be in the Boys Brigade, I believe." And he's got a bugle there. He said, "Yes, Sergeant Major, but shut up." And every time he says, "But Miss Sergeant Major, shut up." And then he said, "Right, okay, plough away." And he can't plough a note. And he said, "I thought you said you was in the Boys Brigade." He said, "Yeah, but he said I didn't play the bugle, I played the drums." It ain't our fault, Mum. We don't have those sort of actors anymore. They were just characters.
Oh, I don't know,
And-
Eric. I think I might be listening to one right now, actually. That's a compliment, by the way. I think there's room
Thank
for
you.
all sorts of. I think there's room for all sorts of reintroduction of English
Actors.
eccentricities into all sorts of things.
Yes.
It would be really good. Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to do
why
that.
not? Yes.
I don't know whether I'd mentioned it last Thursday, so you'll have to bear with us if we do repetition. It does happen, it's part and parcel of the space. Maybe it was when I was with you on Monday night show, because we had a good time on Monday night, didn't we, over at the Fockham Hall Ranch?
Yeah. Oh,
But-
yes.
Yeah, I've been looking up flagpoles, not literally looking up them, but looking them up in terms of what's permissible and all that kind of stuff. Certainly round these ear parts, you are allowed to put a flagpole up that's 15 feet high, which is pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good.
It's very good.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, I don't know what size flag you would put on that. There's also the flags you can get that lean out at 45 degrees from your house if you wanted something that was a little bit easier to create a flag pole stand for. I think it's a bit easier to sort of, you get a drill and sort of, put some masonry bolts in or something and hold this thing up. Hopefully it won't pull your house down if the wind picks up. But no, it's all pretty cool. Even
the
today.
other thing-
Yeah, sorry.
Again, sorry, I'm chomping in again. I must take some more tablets. Now, I was going to say, we must also reinstate the counties that have been lost, such as Middlesex and what's that one in Northampton that was the smallest?
tiny one?
What was that called now?
Oh, it's jumped out of my head. Rutland.
Rutland, yeah. So we must reinstate Middlesex and Rutland.
Yeah.
And do away with London because they never. London was very, very small at one point. Places like Shoreditch and that were in Surrey and places. So we need to expand those counties again. So we must have a flag for Middlesex. I was born in Middlesex, so I know what the flag is. It's a shield.
Has Middlesex
And,
disappeared then? Has it? Is it just gone?
Yes, doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And nor does Rutland.
So we've
and
got
there's also
Sussex,
Sussex, that's
which is
gone.
the South Sex, as it were. We used to have Wessex, which
Yeah.
I think is. It doesn't. Does Wessex actually exist as a county, or is it just sort of nominally a
No.
region with a few counties in it now? So we got
No,
Wessex, we've
it-
got Sussex. Sussex has been broken up into West and East, but basically it used to be just Sussex. We've got Essex, which is East Sex. Did we have Norsex? Was there ever a Norsex or something? I can't think of one. That would be north of Middlesex, wouldn't it?
Yes, it might. We could have, but we definitely had Wessex. There was
Yeah, we
definitely a
did.
Wessex, I believe.
Yeah, the kings of
so
Wessex.
we need to reinstate them, but we need to have these statements underneath them. So it's like a kind of like an app. You look at it, and it makes people think. You think, what's this? But we also need to have in the corner of the flag the dragon with the with the stars of each county. I think that's a brilliant flag. We've got the dragon with the stars of each county in a circle. Very nice.
Yep.
That's good.
Lots of work for you to do,
So-
everybody listening out there. Come on, get a
Yes.
move on.
Come on.
If
So
you
where
get, if
your
anybody
counties-
out there says, "Hey, we've already sorted out getting flags," I'll come and buy them from you. I've got so much to do, but it just needs doing. So, I mean, I've been looking up suppliers. There are people that obviously you can get sort of print on demand, which is a fantastic tech, really. Because you don't have to sort of stock up and go, oh, we need $5,000 or something to sort of buy loads of flags and build all the plates and everything. You just get rocking with this stuff very, very quickly. But there are so many sort of printables and brandables with it. Even today, I was looking up, I think I mentioned it last week maybe, silver lapel pins for men. I suppose they would be called lapel brooches for ladies, would they? Mm-hmm. Maybe they would. I'm showing my jewellery ignorance here, which is considerable. But I was looking up silver dragons. Now, there are quite a few. They're all Welsh, of course. So the Welsh are all, it's understandable, of course. And I'm quite happy for the Welsh that they've got this dragon thing floating around everywhere. But the English one that's on the flag that we were looking at last week is slightly it's a different looking sort of dragon. It's a bit sort of, it's not as Welsh looking. and it's more sort of English, drinks English beer and not Welsh beer and stuff like that. But they would be great. I mean, I actually came across a site selling these things that were like 150 quid each. I could just hear everybody groan out there. But why not? In a way, I think we can get them a lot less expensive than that. But this means, of course, Eric, that we would often, from now on, whenever we meet in public, which of course is never, we will have to be wearing suits with white, silver dragon lapel pins in our lapels, which sounds to me fantastic. And they did look good. And I thought, oh, I like that. And it's almost like the smaller and the more glitteringly silver it is, the better. And I like, there were some made out of silver pewter, which is it's the dulled silver, which is not as attractive. You want it sort of radiant, don't you? You want it to just shimmer in the sun or reflect it. So it's all cool stuff, really. It's all gubbins. And I think it's, the more you think about it, we can see just how powerful it is. It's because it's a silent connection.
That's right.
It is powerful. It really is. So,
what about goodbye government, welcome people power, or goodbye bureaucracy, welcome people power?
Are the government leaving, Eric? Are they going? Have they said we're off?
Well, they will do when we tell them. We tell them they can say goodbye. We don't need you. You've done a rubbish job. You're completely. In fact, the treason that they've done is so remarkable. Mao and Stalin must be looking up from hell in absolute awe, thinking that's fantastic. Why didn't we ever do that? So yes, and we need something, because people will just look at the flag and think, well, what's that? I'm wondering whether we need something. Few words, but really punchy, really get there to sort of put the point over. So people say, oh, it makes people think. But not make it ambiguous, because people will always misinterpret things. And they say, oh, you're far right and you're neo.
Oh, you've disappeared again a little. Where have you gone? You've just disappeared.
Hang on. That's it. That's it.
Oh, I think you'd
here.
sat on your mute button. That's what it is.
But it muted itself. I don't know quite what's happened.
It did it all by itself, did it?
That's right. but but it's surprising how people misinterpret things. I've been accused of almost everything under the sun. Oh, you're a this, you're a that, you're a thing, you're blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. People always, but
I think we're past all that. I think it's funny. Yeah. I think it's really funny. I've been saying for a couple of years that they're going to hit a point, and I think we're at it now, where no insult that they throw at you is going to cause you to do anything else other than laugh. You go, you for real? Really? So you're a Nazi? Come again? What? It's just a joke. It is. It's
only
a joke.
on Wednesdays.
It's really. This is the best you've got. It's sad, and the thing is that it is the best they've got, and they're getting panicky because they've got no words left. They've worked for so long. We could shame people. Not anymore. You see, what is happening, obviously, is that people are more than sensing. They know that we're under the cosh. And it's not just an idea now or me saying it as a sentence. It's I hate that thing, but it's our direct experience, because it's actually true. Yeah. And we've still got a lot of people are quiet whilst this experience dawns on them, because there's a lot of dawning going on out there, I think, with people. And they're unsure. I think that's understandable. And they're fearful. That's also understandable. But it's going to hit a point where you're just going to go, look, it doesn't matter how nice you are or we are, and we want to live in a nice civil space. We do. Unfortunately, we are being forced to not live in one by people who don't want us to even exist. And so even this sort of, white genocide is a myth thing, it's not. I mean, it never was. Now it's becoming obvious to so many more people. There's a comment here from Alice Gorgeous. I'm probably going to quote a lot of... It's such a nice name to read out. It makes everybody feel happy. So you've picked a good one there, Alice, unless it really is your general name. Your mum must have been Mr. and Mrs. Gorgeous, which is really rather gorgeous, actually. Anyway, Alice writes, she says, Paul, apparently we just need 51% of England to rescind our consent to be governed. It's doable. It is. I think I need to get it more into this... the birth certificate thing. I understand the principles of it. I had explained to me a long time ago. I know the knock-on effect of it. But there is a process, and I think Hannah has got a process in line. There is one basically there where you file certain documents to come out of that. And we've talked about this before. I mean, somebody sent me a clip that was on InfoWars about, I don't know who sent it to me, but whoever it was, thank you very much. I think it was on InfoWars, Alex Jones's site, about 3 or 4 years ago at the height of the COVID thing. It was to do with a woman that was pregnant, and they wanted to do a COVID test on her baby. And she said no. And the conversation basically developed that the nurses were saying, as soon as it's out of the womb, it's ours. We own it, right? Well, not if you don't sign those documents. And it's almost like you're going to need, if you are giving birth to children in hospitals, and maybe even that rightfully should drop off as well. Although I understand if you're a first-time mum, it's quite a thing, and you want to be reassured of all these sorts of things. But I'm not the one having a child. But that's something to look at as well. From the very point of claiming you as a good in their commercial system, which is basically what they do. There's probably better ways of phrasing it, but that's the essence of it. You're put into their commercial system. And this is why all their supposed acts and statutes apply, because it's as if they've forcibly enrolled you in a club without telling you. And they say you are bound by the club rules. It just happens to be called government, and it happens to be able to control your bank account or all these other things that they want to do. So I think individually, a process of coming out is good. It's even better, though, if you're doing it locally in little clusters and groups, and then you've got a peer group around you to sort of, support you in that process. Is it something that you've ever looked at, Eric? The idea of, getting rid of your birth certificate, as it were. Yeah?
Yes. The late Robert Newman was trying to do it, get rid of his birth certificate. Then you can travel at will, do what the gypsies do. They have total freedom. That's why the socialists tried to get rid of them in the 1960s. That was a hidden, shall we say, that was ethnic cleansing that was totally hidden in plain view.
Right.
And they I won't go in fully into it because it's actually on my show that I did, but the nasty tricks department of the government threw all the, excuse my language, the crap they could at the gypsies to drag them through the mud. And mud sticks. And as I say, unfortunately, Robert Newman, he died before he did it. But he was talking about actually getting out of the system. And I think we need to do that.
I think we can. I think there's now, to me, I think there's a critical mass of knowledge has built up. It's in different areas. I mentioned, I think last week, Alan of Salisbury. Maybe I did, or maybe I didn't, and maybe many people here know him. I've actually sat down and broken bread with Alan of Salisbury with other people, and didn't get to speak to him too much. But he's extremely knowledgeable about this stuff and has been talking about it for a long time. And I'd like to get him on the show at some point soon. I mean, in terms of looking at process, it's almost like we just need little videos, and if I can get the time, I'd certainly do them. But if anybody out there knows how to make videos, we need to get onto this stuff. There's loads of work to do, and they don't even have to be long. They're sort of like, this is what you do, right? You put your trousers on, you go downstairs, you pick up a pen. This is what you have: a cup of tea, you sit down, you get a piece of paper, you write this, you do that. I mean, I've actually got a birth certificate due to arrive here at my home. I needed one, and I've got the original somewhere kicking around in the house. Sorry if I'm repeating myself, everybody. These are the most exciting things that go on in my day. And I really want it because it's got my mum and dad's signature on it. My mum especially said, look, I've been keeping this for years and you've got to keep it safe. And I haven't thrown it away, but I might as well have at the moment because it's somewhere in some nook or cranny in the house, even though it's not very big and, it's tedious. But I've got one, they're very late sending it. But I thought, even as I ordered it, I thought, really, after this, it's almost as if you need the Fockham Hall birth certificate registry. But then we're not going to use the word registry because that means to assign ownership over the king.
That's right.
And we're not doing that. And so it's getting all these conventions out of the way because they use these bits of paperwork, don't they? Your paper trail that they've deceived you into creating with them out of the goodness and kindness of your heart. This is This is why it's so disgusting. We are an accommodating people who think, hey, we're all in this together, let's work together and make it work. And they're saying to you, yeah, we are.
It's a con. But what I was going to say, Paul, is why not at the bottom of the flag, or at the top of the flag, have Soapbox Radio? Or, so that people will know what it's about. So that you see the flag and you just see Soapbox Radio. That's it on every one. Mm-hmm. I have another special flag with the logo that you've got on today's show, that is mind-blowing. That is perfect. That just says it all. And have a flag of that, which is a general one for Soapbox Radio.
It would be a good flag, that, wouldn't it? I told
That
a
really
fib in my
would,
little
yeah.
promo today, but it's such a good... I said, what that is I sent it to Monica, actually, prior to the show. She said, where do you get all these wonderful pictures from? I said, oh, you stick with me, love. I've got some pictures for you. It's actually a photograph of my family some years ago when we were at a barbecue. This is the lie, okay? And somebody said grubs up, and so we're pelting like mad to make sure that we get more hot dogs and cheeseburgers than anybody else, right? And then, of course, I've had it rendered into a nice cartoon drawing. So, but it's lovely. I mean, and broadly speaking, it can be the theme of tonight. I mean, I come up with these pictures. They don't have to have any real relation to what we talk about at all. Because
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so...
That really sums it up. It's coming out of the gloom. And that, every picture tells a story. But we need to have a central place where people could tune into Soapbox Radio. So they look at the flag and they see, like, I don't know, it could be in Sussex. And you see the Sussex flag, and then underneath it says Soapbox Radio. Yep. There it is. Wallop. Because people are just glancing, oh, yeah, it's the Sussex flag, look away. But when they see something underneath, and something on the word at the top, like it's time or change, or no, I don't like change. The politicians use that. But they'll find out what it's about.
Vote for change.
We need change.
Vote for change. We're going to change things. No, you're not. You don't even know what.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you're doing. It's just it's retarded.
Oh, Fartas does that. Was it Farage? This is the change that's needed. This is definitely the change. Obama, all he said, this is change. This is a change. What a load of bovine excrement.
The tragedy is, Eric, that unfortunately, still the vast majority of the electorate fall for this stuff.
People are stupid. This is what George Carlin said. People are stupid. They really
they're not really. They're not actually totally stupid. None of us are. We're all stupid in some areas, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, if you put me in a garden and told me to grow things, I'm stupid. But at least I'm not stupid enough to try and pretend that I know what I'm doing. That's the difference, I think. You go, look, I actually don't know what I'm doing, and we need to find somebody who does, so I could be responsible in that way. You've got to be able to, what's the thing, know thyself. You go, I'm actually pretty good at welding, so I'm okay with that. So if you want any welding done, I'll do that for you. But don't ask me to start growing potatoes because, it's not a part of my skill set yet. And if we can find somebody else that does it, why do you need me to do potatoes when this guy can do potatoes? Isn't that how we're supposed to kind of work together? But I think people are... understandably, in many ways, behind the nine ball, as it were, when it comes to things like so-called democracy, which they associate pointlessly and literally stupidly with freedom. It doesn't exist. It's complete nonsense. And freedom. Oh, yeah, democracy. We got freedom because of that. And of course, all the economic news, you should pay attention to it because they're not telling you lies. Just ridiculous. But it's true. It's true because no one, I'm repeating again, people go to school, they're never given a context to learn in the correct way. They're not given that, they're given another one. The context is you must pass these exams, you must behave well, you do this stuff, you might go to university. Well, that used to be the story, it's a joke now. And you do this, and then you'll get a good job, and your mum and dad will be proud of you, and you'll meet a nice woman or a nice man, and it's all going to turn out. That used to be the story up until about 25 years ago, didn't it?
That's right.
Now it's a joke. It's a joke because
kids can't afford to buy. You can't afford to buy. That's right. Can't afford to buy a house. There's hardly any. The only work there is in the service industries, such as flipping hamburgers and things like that. And you're having university people getting all the qualifications of a university, ended up in a burger joint and places like that. So it's just and in massive debt. It's all been designed to get people into massive debt, and I could see this happening when. Tony Blair came in.
Yep.
He started, I think it's him that started the debt with universities. Unbelievable. And it started in a small way. It's like the thin end of the wedge. But it's really not worth going to university at all now. It's pointless because you won't get much work afterwards unless you go overseas.
It's all going to get really hairy. I'm spending a little bit more time each day considering the impacts of AI. Whatever it may actually really be or not, and whether it really is artificial intelligence or not. But the fact is that the amount of money that's going into it And I mean, effectively, to a great degree, you could say low-level software coders are going to be out of a job very quickly at this rate. I mean, it's...
Well, they will. But why aren't we... I mean, for example, my dad used to talk about, after World War II, they said that automation will kill jobs. So we've got to look at reducing the working week. And there was actually studies of where they was going to reduce the working week to a 4-day week or 3-day week, or become like the Romans. The Romans had half the year off. They had holidays because, all right, their empire was built on slavery. Well, instead of having slaves...
Well, so's this one.
Well,
so's this
so
one.
is this, yeah.
It's just a very sophisticated... when you get a mobile phone now and TV to distract you from the fact that effectively, when it comes to the critical decisions in your life, you're not going to be consulted on those. Decisions are going to be taken above your head and you won't be invited to participate. I mean, you can't. Anyway, what you're supposed to do is 60 million people all gobbing off in a field. You can't sort anything out like that. I accept that. It's unworkable. It's a ridiculous situation, which is why national government is really not necessarily required. I mean, you know, at least I mean, if you think of county government, if there are, whatever it is, if there's these 38 counties and we've got a population here in England, I mean, I don't know whether this 70 million applies to the whole of England, Scotland and Wales. But you're looking at maybe, what are you looking at per county? 10 million, not 10 million a county, 1 million, 1.5 million people per county. That's quite enough to be managing that on average. I know London is just sort of this thing. But the other counties, you know, they're going to vary out there in sort of people per square mile and all that kind of stuff. But overall, you'd say, yeah, county government, better. Not really, of course. I know it's still going to attract the same sort of personality type that are hungry for power. The problem. Well, it is. We've never really got past this in 2,000 years of recorded history and probably even 10,000 years of it. It seems to spring up everywhere. Someone's always going to come along who's going to be able to, I'll sort your problems out for you. You just vote for me.
In little areas.
Yeah.
But in little areas, it's like, for example, the West.
Yeah.
When they were opening up the West, there was no government there. And they reckon that this idea, yeah, there were a few outlaws, but not what you see on the cowboy films. Most people are honest. Decent people. And there's none of this, you get the idea that everybody's shooting each other. That was very, very rare. And they called it the Wild West. Why? Because government wanted you to believe that because they didn't have government. But they reckon the people were totally free to do what they wanted to. You look at, say, they reckon that if Henry Ford started today, they reckon he'd never been able to make motor cars because of so many regulations. Governments are just full of regulations. We need less. We don't need rules. We don't need regulations. I mean,
it's down to us as a species, I guess. I mean, if you look at Rome, this is nothing new. Although the technology that we have is of a different type, which we consider to be better, and you could say it was necessary. There was always going to be a drive to create it because of the supposed increase in numbers of people. Although there was a wonderful little thing sent in on the Telegram group a few days ago about the world's population, the amount of land that we've all got and how much you would need to grow food. And I think they came to the view that even in current state, there's enough land here to support a population on the planet of 155 billion. Now, the argument is not for that. That's not what we're saying. But it definitely is there. And why is it mismanaged? I don't think it is mismanaged. I think the stuff that's managed is managed well. It's just that there's a whole class of people that don't want to do that. They want to boss everybody else around. And it exhausts the effective, to actually feed the parasite class. It's a parasite that builds up. There's no other way to describe it, I don't think.
We're heading to extinction. There was he's dead now. There's a chap who looked into it.
Yeah.
And he said that we're not overpopulating, we're underpopulating, and what's going to happen? He said populations are folding in on themselves. China, for example, they had a one-child policy. That is now kicking in. And there's not enough of a younger generation there, and older people have got to work longer, and it's having a terrible effect. And he reckoned that Africa and India have almost reached their peak now, and then they're going to drop suddenly. And one place where it has dropped phenomenally is I think it's Bangladesh.
Right.
Bangladesh in 1970 the average woman would have about 5 children. Now it's 1.5. And the reason why, and there's a theory, electricity. When electricity is introduced, the population drops. Why? Because people become more middle class, and they realise they can't afford the goodies if they have more children. So they have less children, so they can afford the goodies like washing machines and things like that. And the population in Bangladesh has dropped like a stone, and now the average birth per woman is something like 1.5 children.
You see, I don't.
instead
I
of
mean,
5.
it's not literally a numbers game, although it's obviously phrased like that. This is my take on it. You know, to create some fear, they've got to create some fear somewhere.
Yeah.
Your point about the electricity is absolutely true. I mean, they found, and you would find this anywhere, it just happened to be Africa, that when they introduced electricity into villages, now they have a light. There's the evening reading light, and reading started to go up because you could look at the words on the paper in the light, right? Yeah. And the other nightly popular activity between men and women, that reduced as well, which led to a drop in the birth rate. But the quality of life started to increase. So it is this, it's not just about quantity. If we say, like if you say, well, the Earth could actually feed 155 billion. 155 billion what? What's the condition of, what is the quality of life of these people? Do they have the opportunity, you know, to learn and do all these things? I mean, I don't see why not. But I often feel that the reasons given back to us by governments are just like there's an inevitable thing. Oh, we can't cope with this. Well, actually, they're right. The caliber of individuals in government, can't cope with anything unless it involves the self-aggrandizement of them and their peer group. That's all. They're never going to see it. They can't see it. They think this is about being in control, whereas it's actually about that old-fashioned quality called wisdom and working it all out. And because the drive economically is, I mean, we've all been imbued, have we not, whether we like it or not, but courtesy of advertising, the culture that we sort of sit in, with the aspirational qualities. Well, you know, I've got a bubble car, but I really want a Mercedes. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not arguing against that. But there's kind of an odd use of our energy. If we were to pare it back and restructure our thinking, and that's so easy to say and so difficult to do because we are creatures now of, you know, habit, like a train on a track. We're all going in one direction. We think that this is what we're supposed to keep on doing, and can't we sort it all out? But I've said this before. If you gave me a pencil and a sheet of paper, a Fockham Hall pencil, of course, Eric, and a Fockham Hall notepad.
Yes. Oh, yes, Wonder Pencil.
Yeah. Oh, this goes for any of us and say, look, what is it that you actually need? And are you clear about what you want? Now, many people would put down things that they think they're supposed to want. Yeah, like I want a big car and I need all this kind of stuff and all that, and I need all my holidays and these things. But given people a bit of time and space, I would suggest that those won't be, in due course, after I don't know how long it would take, the sorts of things they would come up with. Certainly as you move through life, those things, the importance of them almost evaporates. I mean, I tend to look at a car now as a fridge on wheels. The idea is it's supposed to get the contents transported fresh on arrival at the other end and safe. That's all you're really bothered about. I couldn't care less. We drive a little sort of car around here. We've got a couple, you know, my son's got a couple of cars. My sons each have a car. I don't have one at the moment. Get my violin out. And I kind of miss it at times because I just think, I just need to bomb off and do this stuff. But it kind of works out at the moment. It's not a big deal. And what I would suspect we would be looking at is you would start off with, we come back to architecture again, the design of a good home space. What does that mean? What does it mean? And I think it means a bit of land on which you could grow a bit of vegetables, and knowing how to do that, something that we're not. So these are all this old-fashioned, I can't be bothered to do that. But the problem is that because we've been sort of inducted into a centralized commercial distribution system, because it's all about efficiency, apparently, and not about controlling your life, we've lost touch with a lot of these wonderful things. Like what we're talking about fruit pies the other day on your show or something, and about, I can't remember what I was talking about. We were, weren't we? Just talking about blackberries and things like this, and your mum
That's right, yeah.
baking pie. Now, I don't have that moment in my life, and I think I mentioned I bumped into a woman in the Ginnel or the Snicket or whatever it's called around here. I was going to say the back passage, but this is a family show, and and she was picking some blackberries. I said, "Oh, it's you, is it? You're the one." This is last year or something, because the blackberries they're just coming around now. I said, "You're the one that nicks them all, are you?" And she said, and she would smile, and she said, "Yeah." I said, "Any chance you could make me a blackberry pie?" I said, "I'll pay for it." I'm serious, because when I want that, that thing of somebody nearby that loves you.
Yeah.
It used to be your mum or your wife or your husband if he's cooking a bit, which is a bit odd if he's making fruit pies, but some of us get carried away, or cakes or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm just being the old traditionalist fart when I said that. And it's great. It's a lovely thing. My aunties used to cook things and bring them round. And so it would be things like that on my list. It really would. It'd be things like I could sit in the garden and be kind of quiet. Yeah, that's it. And I don't need a lot of stuff. I really like high quality food. And I'd like less football, please. And I'd like a reduction. I do. I just want this too much of it, and it's just silly. I want you to stop trying to sell me all this stupid electronic entertainment garbage that is of such low quality. There's no point you even making it. It's depressing the actors. It's depressing the production crew. They're making junk and they know it, but they've got to pay the mortgage. It's all junk. There's tons of it. It's all such low quality. And you go, I don't need this. And I bet you have been thinking more and more that the idea of almost like being a hermit in a little place with your own coal fire, and I'm going, and why am I thinking like this? Because it's the modern world is exhaustingly stupid. It's not that I'm against the excitement of technical progress. And these things are amazing. They're quite incredible. But they're always used, it seems to me, in the wrong way, because again and again and again, at the end of the line, you've got this profit motive stuff. And we've got this aberrated growth. It's like we've got gigantism of the economy. It's got to grow. Why? I'm still not getting what I want right now. I can't get a decent chicken because you've filled it full of junk, right? It's full of growth hormones, as you've mentioned before. Why can't I get a steak at a decent price? There's not enough room for cows. There is. They're mangling everything because they don't like us. Really, in the end, as a child, that's all I'm going to say. They don't like us because we've created some wonderful structures in the past. And everybody here, no doubt, is familiar with all those sort of, the cottages in the Cotswolds. And I bet 9 out of 10 of us want to live in a place like that. I do. I want to live with a little beck at the end of the garden and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. And we would be living like that if we hadn't had traitors in places of authority. That's the real fact of the matter. We could, by now, with the resources this country's got, make the Swiss look poor. But no, we haven't. And this is what gets me. I'm old enough to remember a time when there was no such thing as homeless. You've always had tramps, but they were tramps by choice. But there was no homeless. So it actually solved the homeless problem. Then all of a sudden, in the 1970s, about mid-70s, it started to creep back again. Why? And that's when they do a destroying the family unit. So you had homeless people on the streets, kids being chucked out their home and things like that. So this disruption of the family unit it's an evil thing that's happened. It's like a growth that's come in, and we've got to destroy that growth. It's horrible. I
think they're all outgrowths of this empire of the merchants. This mindset that says we must compete with other producers to dominate a market to create value for our shareholders. These are not even human beings. These are corporations, i.e. dead things. And the creation of corporations has created a warp in our thinking about what's important. It's like I've said, the economic news apparently is really important because the economy, man. What about the economy, And you go, yeah, but even when it was good, was it really better for you? It's not. I don't see it, and then you're told, well, you won't be able to afford a new iPhone. Oh, no, I'm going to cry for no time whatsoever over that. I mean, these things are not
AI,
even...
machine, sorry, I don't mean to chime in, but the fact is, look at Seiko. Now, Seiko made the first watch that was untouched by human hands in 1965. Seiko 5.
Yeah.
I'm into watches. Now, the Seiko 5... you think how advanced it was in 1965, and they're still producing them because they're so good. Now, there's no human activity as such or the only human activity there is to maintain the machine. That's it. The machine just goes 24 hours, bang, 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 bang. Now, if those watches were made by hand, they'd be a phenomenal price. They're not. It's brought the price down. They're about 100 quid or something like 150
Do people
quid.
still wear watches? Do you wear one? I'm interested to know.
Yeah, I wear a watch, yeah. Oh,
Gentlemen out there and ladies, do you still wear wristwatches? I mean, I would have thought the mobile phone's sort of taken the place of that. You just go, what time is it? You look at your phone, don't you? You know,
No, I
which
need
is
a
sad.
wristwatch. I'm obsessed with wristwatches.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, I like wristwatches. But the fact is, these things like smartphones can be made by machine. That's what machines are for. You think of washing. Now, once upon a time, you had a wash day where the mother would be most of the day washing. Now you just shove it in a washing machine, walk away and leave it, and the washing machine does it for you. When it's finished, it just beeps, you open the door and it's done. And all you have to do is dry it. These things are our slaves. Machines are our slaves. So why can't we utilise them and have more leisure time? And there was a documentary.
Because, Eric, I mean, you're right. We ought to be able to. We should. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like the thing when the agrarian revolution came along and suddenly put a lot of men out of work on the land. Now, at the time, that wasn't such a bad thing because there were loads of other things that needed doing. So I think I mentioned before, early 1500s over here, 20 men working on the land or 20 people working on the land would feed 24. So there was only enough surplus to feed, you know, whatever it is, another 15% of the population. 85% of the people produced all the food and 15% could do something else, you know, like form an army and do stuff and tax you or whatever they were going to get up to, right? But that was required. We've got a mature situation here. Maybe we haven't. Maybe we'll look back on this and go, oh, no, it was so terrible. But obviously from the path that we've trod over the last few hundred years, there's a lot of sophisticated machinery which didn't exist. Electronics have transformed things ever since the transistor arrived, done all sorts of things. The problem with it is that when these advances come along, we don't get a divvy. We don't get one. Now, so if you were to say, well, there really is a nation and, you know, a tribe of people of the same race with a shared and received history, culture and language, and there are many nations like that, and it's where the vast bulk of people are happiest because they're vibrating, as it were, and in that space with their own types of people and develop all sorts of subtle little things that can't be developed when it's all messed up. So it creates all that, the true riches of natural diversity under the laws of nature. These are good things. Why is it not the case that when a great benefit comes to the nation, I don't get some extra money in my dividend book? Because you should. And I've mentioned this about the bank, right? So we might as well play this now, actually. Somebody sent me a clip. Oh, what time is it? No, I'll maybe cover this in a few minutes after Monica's joined us in about 10 minutes' time. We have a situation, don't you, where everybody's banging on about CBDCs. Well, the central bankers are. They're going on about CBDCs. And a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is this event. It's a tester. It's obviously a CIA operation. It's not Satoshi Knicker Elastic or whatever his name was. That was just a lovely cover story that everybody is so romantically interesting, you know. So that's fine.
Elastic.
Whatever his name was. It was something like that, wasn't it? Satoshi Nika Nakatomi or something. It's a great name. I loved it. Everybody wants to be called that. And so that's a lot of guff, as usual, that comes out of these sort of spaces. Oh, look at this spontaneous thing that nobody could anticipate. Yeah, right. And that's different because a market has built up it, but they've been using that as a trial balloon, a test balloon, to see how markets could be built and do all these sorts of things. There's nothing wrong with a central bank digital currency, but there's everything wrong with central banks. So that, and by everything, I simply mean that you and I don't own the Bank of England. And I want you,
Precisely.
Eric, to own it. And I want everybody listening here to own it. And I want my bit. And everybody that exists who's on the land of England, to go back to what Hannah was saying about those of us that live on England, right? It's our bank, isn't it? And what's the purpose of it? What's its true purpose? It's not to make a profit. I mean, it's become that. It's not. It's simply to furnish
right.
you and me with enough purchasing power to shift goods and services around so that things can stay harmonious within a certain thing. There's always going to be certain fluctuations and the weather will go bad and crops will fail. Yeah, this happens. But we can save up and deal with all of that. We've got computers that can organise just about everything, but they're being used to organise the ruin of our life, not to actually bring the benefits to us because someone says, I got to control it all, you know.
But it's quantity, not quality. Now, one little thing which irritates me, nowadays you see women making pies. I can understand it in a factory, but
I need to hang around with you a bit more. All right, okay.
You see, and they've got plastic gloves on.
Yeah.
Now, when your auntie or your mum made pies, she didn't have plastic gloves. There was a love that went into that pie. There was a kind of kindness there.
Yes.
And there was something about it. If they wore plastic gloves, that link would have gone. You know, you at this point, oh, my mum made this or my auntie made this. There's something about it, and I think there's something about plastic that really gets up my bloody hooter. It really
It's rubbish.
does.
It's horrible. It is.
Yeah.
It's antiseptic. There's something dead about it. It's completely dead. It's not alive, and it's was your granny alive when you were a wee lad? Was your granny alive?
Yes.
And did your granny bake and cook? Yeah.
Yes, as far as I know. Yes.
And what was Granny's food like? My mum used to take me up to my
lovely.
Yeah, I know, it's a thing. I think many a mother's nose has been put out of joint by her children being introduced to her mother and her mother's cooking, and they all go, oh, we really like Grandma's cooking. And of course, it's a bit deflating for your mum. You don't mean to be harming her, but my mum used to take me up to my grandma's on a Wednesday when I was like 4, 5, 6, just early days of going to school and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And we'd go up on a Wednesday, and I remember going up I can remember it now, my mouth's watering, it's ridiculous this. She made a sort of steak and potato pie. Oh, wow. I just wanted to go back. Are we going back to Grandma's? Why? I want more pie. It was just fantastic. Well, it was brilliant.
Yes, my mum was the cook, though. I mean, she cooked, though. She learned to cook through the war. Mm-hmm. So you had sort of like wartime recipes. And with, lovely pastry and steak and kidney pie with all the steak and all the kidney in it. It's gorgeous. The other one is rhubarb crumble. Rhubarb crumble. My mum's rhubarb crumble.
Yeah.
Wow. And taste it now. It's these things, you couldn't get that in a shop. There's just something about the way she cooked. You just can't.
Well, there's a theme building up here, Eric, in our last few conversations. Yeah. We keep getting around to food, pies, fruit, and stuff like that. I mean, it's probably more important than all this other stuff that we talk about, to be quite honest, because it puts you in touch with that kind of, what's the word? Is it kinesthetic? Is probably the wrong, but just that direct physical love of life. You get a lot through your taste buds, don't you? Food is very powerful in that way. It's sort of, you can. All that kind of stuff. It's tremendous. Anyway, we're coming towards the end of the first hour, so it's time for a tune. And Monica will be joining us after this tune. Patrick sent me this a little bit earlier today, and it sounded good. But he said that the lyrics are absolutely atrocious, which is always a good recommendation, really. It's called Gotta Get Back to You. I like to say it like that, as if it's very, very starchy. Gotta Get Back to You by Tommy James and the Shondells. You ever heard of them, Eric? The Shondells.
Sounds like a nasty disease, doesn't it?
Have
you got the Shondells?
I have, actually, yes. Can you just give me some ointment for those? Absolutely. So we're going to take a break. You're listening to Paul English Live here on WBN 324. We'll be playing a little song and a little bit and bobs, and then hour 2 we'll be joined by Monica Schaefer, and we'll be thundering into other things. We might still talk about pies, you never know, but we'll try and move on to other stuff. Pies can't hold our attention forever, that's more easily said than done. Here's the Shondells, anyway, with Tommy James, whoever he might be.
Attention all listeners. Are you seeking uninterrupted access to WBN 324 Talk Radio despite incoming censorship hurdles? Well, it's a breeze. Just grab and download Opera Browser, then type in WBN324.zil. And stay tuned for unfiltered discussions around the clock. That's WBN324.zil.
The views, opinions, and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing on the World Broadcasting Network are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of its owners, partners, and other hosts or this network. Thank you for listening to WBN 324 Talk Radio.
I wasn't listening to the lyrics of that song. Welcome back to part two. I need to probably make those breaks a bit longer, really. Maybe we have two songs next week or something like that. But that was very twangy. I quite like that twangy guitar. I don't know what you thought about that, Eric. Did you like the Twangalux guitar in that?
Didn't really appeal to me. You know,
No?
I prefer the 1930s. Happy Days Are Here Again. Happy Days
Oh,
Are
right.
Here
So
Again.
that was a sort of 60s disco type thing, wasn't it? With sort of patent shoes and slightly unruly long hair and very large, maybe those pear drop shirts where the lapels got bigger and bigger and bigger, that kind of stuff. It made me think about that.
That's it, yes. And flared trousers with turn-ups, which probably cause more injuries than anything else.
They probably
Do you ever
did.
have flares with turn-ups? Yes. You walk out and you get your foot tangled in the turn-ups. Or you go, what's it overhead? Yes. Fun
Anyway,
days.
welcome back to part two, everyone. Yeah, welcome back to part two. Hope you're all doing fine with your turn-ups and your trousers and everything like that. And Monica Schaefer's here with us. And good afternoon, Monica. How are you doing on this, hopefully, beautiful Canadian afternoon for you? What's going on?
Yes, hello. Good to be back with you, Paul and Eric. And
hello, Monica.
I don't know if there are others there. It says 5 people, but that might just be a ghost.
They're all
or
lurking.
Something. I don't
They're
know.
lurkers, Monica. I don't know who they are. They just turn up and do things. No,
And you were talking about cuffs on pants. Was that your turn-ups or cuffs, I think? Is that what you're talking about?
I think Eric was. I don't know what he was talking about, really.
Yes,
I was just sort of being polite. What were you talking about?
Well, do you remember the flare turn-ups? That was the worst fashion design ever. You'd have turn-ups on your flares.
Oh, and the
Yes.
flares, that too, yes. The
Yes.
combination, that would be a little bit of a dangerous combination, you're right.
Yeah.
But the flare, the turn-ups, the cuffs, it just reminds me of my father. There's kind of a funny story about him because he was always, he never paid any attention to what's in fashion or not. Absolutely none. But one day at work, his colleagues were saying to him, "Oh, Otto, I did not know that you're so fashionable, ahead of the times. You're ahead of the times," because he was wearing some pants that were probably 40 years old that he happened to, bring along with him from Germany, from the old country. And they were these quite baggy corduroy pants that had cuffs on the bottom. And nobody was wearing cuffs at this time. I don't know if that was in the early 70s or whenever it was. I don't know exactly when cuffs came back in, but they'd already made it onto the New York fashion scene. And that's where the fashions get set, the trendsetters. And they were about to come across the rest of the continent, but hadn't yet. So this colleague of my dad's, he knew all that, and he was looking at my dad like, wow, he's ahead of it, but he was actually very far behind. So the moral of the story.
Did you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, did you cringe a bit? My dad, thankfully, never tried to pursue trends. If he had done in the 70s, I would have been mortified and embarrassed beyond belief. The idea of them sort of pitching in with what really, now looking back on it, was some horrific clothes designs. But when you're young, you have literally no idea. Oh, I've got to have a pair of bell-bottom trousers. Really? Yeah. Why? Well, everybody else does, and I'm only 14. I can't work things out yet. So there was all that kind of stuff, But it must have been quite a challenge for you to find out that suddenly, Monica, your dad was trendy, and he didn't know it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad was similar, but he always wore a shirt and tie.
Oh, mine
he
too.
would never, ever look relaxed. So you go somewhere, a nice relaxing day out on the countryside, there he was, his suit, shirt and tie.
There's something about that generation that they were showing, I don't know, respectfulness, I guess. It was respect for common decency. Well, I don't think that my dad did that on the picnics or camping, but he certainly did wear shirt and tie to go to ordinary places, like to go grocery shopping. I mean, this is after my mother had died already, but otherwise she had done all that. Or to go to the dentist, or to go just wherever in an ordinary place where most people don't wear a shirt and tie. But he did, and people did notice that. I think it's the times, right? Because then what's the other extreme?
Yeah.
People walking around in the shabbiest. Oh, and it's even, the fashion to have torn jeans or torn whatever. You pay more for those shabby clothes. So really, that's a degradation of our culture and a disrespect. Not only a disrespect for your own decency, but for everybody else that you come across. I think that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, I guess it's all to do with the grinding down of the standards of beauty,
Yes.
Also it would be driven by the mating game, wouldn't it? So, I guess if you're I don't know really, not that I am a female, but if you're a bloke anyway, you're going, well, what is it that girls are looking for that's attractive? I better not look too sort of outdated. I mean, I went to school with fellow students who literally didn't have a clue. Now, I wasn't a dedicated follower of fashion, but I just made sure I was kind of mediocre in the middle. I couldn't get all giddy about that. I knew some people that were, and because they were boys or, teenagers, I was embarrassed on their behalf for the fact that they were so interested in buying a new this, that, and then. I'm going, are you serious, really? I mean, it's just to keep you warm. I just need a pair of jeans and some shoes. I've got to go kick footballs and some T-shirts. What else do you need? I mean, it was just silly, really. But you become aware, of course, that girls take a very keen interest in that sort of thing far, far earlier than boys. And I guess it's obviously very important. Well, it is. It's probably more important. They are the radiant flower in their youth, and they're seeking to attract the wasps or the bees or whatever. So
Oh, yes. But I'll tell you something else. My dad would never leave the house unless his shoes were absolutely glistening. Because he'd been in the army. I mean, his shoes, you could see your face in them. They were so glistening. And I imagine your dad was a bit like that, Monica.
Oh, yes. Yes, his shoes were always in top form. He made sure they were polished, and you might not have seen your reflection in them like what you describe. But no, he had good shoes and they were in good form.
Oh, yeah. I most of my uncles were like that. My dad was like that too. But I actually think I ended up with a sort of shoe polish, what could I call it, chip on my shoulder. My dad was always there cleaning my shoes, right? He would clean them. And I wanted to do it. But apparently I wasn't good enough when I was young to clean the shoes because he had tremendous elbow grease and spit. And, of course, the shoes that I wore when I went to school, they were very shiny. They were great, But I really wanted to get in. But I think the first time I tried it, I obviously got black shoe polish everywhere and all over the kitchen floor and stuff like this. And this was met with a kind of rebuttal. We can't be doing that. But I want to. And I always felt that it turned me into some sort of slob by not doing my own shoes. It was funny, really. Of course, I did learn to polish them later on in life. And if I had polishable shoes right now, I would be polishing. Actually, I do. I've got one pair that are those proper gentleman's British sort of shoes. We've banged on about shoes here before, haven't we? But and I do polish them every now and again. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So,
but my dad showed me how to do it to the army standards. And I did it, and he looked at it as a joke. He said, "So when are you going to start polishing it?" And it's a joke, but
he crushed you, didn't he? He crushed all the life out of you with that little comment. That was it. You were ruined from that point onwards. I can imagine.
He said, "Was it threepenny bits and circles?" That's what he called it, threepenny bits and circles. And he went in round, and it's a special way you did it.
Yeah.
And it's surprising. You don't use a brush; you use a cloth. And it's amazing how you can get them up to an incredibly high standard. And eventually he said, "Crumbs, you've got there." He was always encouraging, my dad. He joked, first of all, but he had a lot of encouragement. He always sort of, that's why my dad had that quality of always, anything you did, he would encourage you. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Nice. It's nice that you were so close to your dad. It really is. It's just so lovely to hear that. I'll tell you the other side of this part of the story about my dad and how he presented himself when he went out the door is how he was at home in terms of he was so frugal that he would wear, old clothes at home. It's just in the privacy of the home, right? And then when my mother was sick and dying, he learned a few things like darning socks and darning wool sweaters and that kind of thing, because she had done those things before, but it was very important to him to be able to do certain things. And then she did indeed die many years before him. So he was on his own for quite a few years, and he was really into darning and fixing his socks and fixing his sweater. He had this favorite sweater, a favorite sweater of his, and there was so much darning on it that by the time he died, there was more replacement yarn in it than original yarn in it. And it was his favorite sweater in the home anyway, but it was really quite funny. Actually, we had that on display alongside with beautiful pictures and whatnot at the memorial service that we did for him, because it was just so him,
It's just grown into it.
Oh, bless him.
Oh, that sounds great.
That really is, that lovely memories, I mean. Yeah. But I tell you something, that generation could repair anything, literally anything. We never had the repairman come to our house. My dad repaired everything. He'd make things last forever. Incredible, because it was all make do amend, because during the war they had nothing.
Yes.
So they had to make something out of nothing. And, the German army had even less, didn't they? I mean, when you saw their rations for the Russian front, poor sods, they survived on virtually nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
the women's side of that story is that they, like, in order to have clothing, they would take, you know, curtains and make skirts out of them. And then,
That's it.
you know, just make do, like just make the clothing out of whatever they had. And yes, it was, those times were pretty frugal,
tough.
pretty rough, pretty tough. And then when my parents came to Canada, they came in the early 50s, and they came really at the height of sort of the throwaway mentality, throwaway society. And it just was such an affront to their sensibilities to see how people were just throwing everything away. It was so going against their grain, it really bothered them a lot, actually, to see that. So yeah, it was interesting times.
Yeah, I think those things tended to rub off. They rubbed off on me.
Yeah.
I even to this, I eat everything on the plate, even if I don't
Me too.
want to. Everything.
Same here.
So
Same here. Yeah.
Now
You
I've
don't throw
stopped
things
putting.
stuff away.
Last few years, I've stopped putting so much on. But if it's on there, I'm eating a lot because it was just drilled into me. If you don't eat all that, you're not getting any pudding. And I wanted pudding. I wanted pudding bad. It was important, right? It was the great treat of the day. So it all got eaten, unless it was liver, in which case I refused to eat liver. I couldn't stand liver when I was a kid. It was very, very difficult.
Same here. I
yeah.
can't stand liver either. Oh, it's awful. Even though my mum did it really nice with bacon. I like the bacon, but I didn't like the liver.
Yeah, all
But I'll
those
tell you
things.
another one. Did you ever have the sheets where it wore in the middle, they cut down the middle of the sheet, then put the sides to the middle, and then sew up the middle? So you had a sheet with like a pleat up the middle, if that makes sense.
Well, that is a brilliant way to do it. I've been fixing sheets by just taking, sacrificing one old sheet and cutting the outside parts, the good parts, and making a big patch in the middle of the the other sheet that I want to fix. But I didn't think of that, to cut it down the middle and reverse it.
Yeah, and then you do a pleat down the sides, and you've got almost a new sheet. And it lasts twice as long. And that's what my parents used to do.
I think
thank
Eric,
you for that idea. Thank you.
yeah, you
for
need
that
to do some
idea.
videos on that, Eric. Eric's home sewing
Loads of them.
video series.
Yeah, I'm a tight-fisted git. I don't. And seriously, I just.
That's a good
was
name
brought
for a
up with
channel. I'm serious. It's a good name.
Yeah,
The
tight-fisted
tight-fisted
git.
git. Yeah.
Yeah.
How to make all ends meet.
that. Stingy.
Stingy. Mr. Stinge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't spend a penny. Spend other people's money. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's why you take. Why people ask me, why do I take such big steps? And I say, well, it's to save money on the footwear. Things.
Huge strides.
Oh my goodness!
I used to get that from my mum though. Stop shuffling around. You're wearing your shoes out. Did you get that one? I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Stop it. You're wearing
yes,
the shoes
yes.
out. Stop doing that. These shoes cost money. I said, yeah, all right.
And also, never allowed to go barefooted. Now, I'm barefoot most of the summer, but never allowed to go barefooted. That shows poverty. Oh, you'd never go barefooted. You've always got to wear
So
shoes.
interesting. So interesting because, we are encouraged to go barefoot. Though, I think that it's a good thing to go barefoot, right?
I agree.
We get grounded.
Spot on, yeah.
We do get grounded. Shall we talk about banking?
Yes.
It's a good
Well, that's
segue.
a perfect-
I didn't know how to
Sure,
do the
it is-
segue. I just didn't know
it
how
is
to
a
do
good
it.
segue.
I just thought I'd burst out. Well, it doesn't have to all be about banking. I got a couple of clips today, actually, that were sent to me, and the people know, so thank you very much. You've heard of this woman, Christine Lagarde. We've got Ursula von der Leyen, who's just basically fond of lying. I mean, because that's all she is. I mean, she's a complete, whatever you want to call her, insert insult here. Christine Lagarde is, I think she's French, isn't she? Eric, is she French or something? I don't know. Anyway, she's pretty high up in the European Central Bank. We were just mentioning briefly there a few minutes ago about central banks and central bank digital currencies. This does actually lead into something as well, an observation in the second clip about banking during World War I, which I want to drop in as well, just to sort of illustrate a point. We'll see where it takes us. But she did a little speech the other day. Now, she uses the word anchor a lot. And I just want you to note that she's got the word wrong. there's a letter missing from the beginning of that word, and that letter is W. So when you hear this clip, which is about 1.5 minutes, just put the W in before, or just remember that that's really what she means to be saying. She just kind of got it wrong. But this is just to give you an idea, really, of the sort of blather that they're coming out with in terms of trying to appeal to us on certain things. Here's Christine letting us know just what's what.
There is clearly an aspiration, a desire for digital payments, much more so than it was in the past, and this is growing. We are now, in the surveys that we've conducted across the 19 members of the euro area, we have more than 50% of the respondents who say we want digital payments. Well, less use of cash, demand for secure and riskless payments. Where do we stand? We central bankers, we have been operating as a monetary anchor in relation to the commercial banks and the private money. If we are not in that game, if we are not involved in experimenting, in innovating in terms of digital central bank money, we risk losing the role of anchor that we have played for many, many decades. And we have historical examples of period where the central bank monetary anchor was not there, and that precipitated crisis after crisis. That certainly was the case at the time of the free banking in the 19th century. Do we want to go back to those days? Probably not. I would say certainly not from our vantage point, as a result of which we have to respond to the demand for those digital payments in order to maintain the role of anchor that we have been playing regularly.
So that's Christine using the word anchor incorrectly, as I said, 3 or 4 times there in that sentence. But I found that little communication very interesting because it's like a desperate plea for them to carry on doing what she perceives is a good job. And I don't know if it was in that clip, I think it was, where she's talking about we don't want to go back to the free banking that they had in the 1800s because she said that led to all sorts of problems. One of the things she fails to point out, whether she knows it or not, is the free banking period, or when there was a lot of competition, particularly in the States with all sorts of regional banks doing their own thing. Those guys were crooks. This is true. But they got together and formed this super crooked thing in the States called the Federal Reserve. We've got a super crooked thing over here called the Bank of England. And basically, it's the same character type that are behind all of it. It's not like the central bank's going to solve that problem. The central bank is an extension of exactly the same problem that we've always had, which is that it attracts idiots and demons and thieves into that space, who then, of course, talking gobbledygook like she tends to and wants to do to convince us all. And when she was talking about there's a demand for this, there isn't. A demand from whom? Who do you think the demand's from? So it's an exciting topic. I can see it's really got you. It's got you all giddy out there. Isn't it exciting?
You've explained it very, very well, Paul. The basic sort of a snapshot there of what happened. And what I notice is that they always like to package things in a way that makes it sound like it's going to be for our benefit. Yep. So
it's for us.
Either our safety or security, or for our health, or now for that people are begging for this digital banking so that there's no crooked dealings or whatever it was she said. I can't remember exactly what she said. She was,
that's right.
But it's always packaged to make it sound like we want it, or it's good for us, or all of the above, so that's important to take note of, because that's the way they package all their lies, make it sound like we need this.
Yeah.
Well, Churchill was, before he got into power, was saying in 1939, the whole country wants us to bring in the draft, or conscription as it's called over here. That was a complete and utter lie. But he actually said that. And people were like, what? Hey? What? And it was that kind of whether it's said for the City of London, I do not know, because he was bought and paid for by the city. But he would say things like that. You know, the whole country wants this. We've got to do what the country wants, and that is complete and utter bovine excrement. He made it.
I think in sales terms, you know, it's called the assumptive close. That's really what they're doing. It's where their language is phrased in such a way that it's just, well, it's obvious that this is the best solution. It's just an assumption that you're going to go along with it because look at all these benefits I'm telling you about. But as I said, she used the word anchor about 4 times there, and in every single instance it needs W before it. When she said, you know, we have to remain as the anchor, you know, you get because that's what they've always been. I mean, this is not a beneficial arrangement. She's just talking about the interests of the central bankers. She's not talking about us. She wouldn't even be able to do that because she's not got the... And I'm not even having a go at her. They're all like that, or her in particular. They can't see this stuff. They're literally blind to the fact that they are totally surplus to requirements. We don't need them. Of course, but we don't. What we need is you need a plan to say, look, there is an honourable way of actually managing this money thing, and this isn't it. Why would we want you, the crooks? I mean, they're saying, well, we're out of control, and we can do this to solve it. My response is, well, why would we employ you, the people that have allowed it to get out of control, to come up with this? You're obviously unfit. It's as if the whole history of banking has always been a mess, you know, we could never really cope with it. But now we've got this great solution for you. It's called central bank digital currencies, and it's going to be great. I don't think so. I'm not buying it. Sorry, excuse my sort of cynicism, but I think that's highly unlikely. What's your track record in terms of helping the people? Oh, hang on, just a minute. You haven't got one. That's a bit of a blow, isn't it? You know, so it's a ridiculous way that they talk to us. Unfortunately, it's very effective because people think that she's an expert. And she is, of course, in terms of all the machinery of central banks and moving all that paper around and making things balance out. And you go, well, we need these people to do that. Well, under the current madness of the system, yeah, you do. I guess they're like a sort of an insane glue that holds it together. But allowing them to come up with a solution to it, no, we want we want the solution, which is the removal of it in its current form. And Bitcoin would be better. I mean, I'm not saying it would be perfect, but it would be better. Or the better solution would be, like I was saying, everybody needs to own their own national bank. Why haven't you got, instead of getting a birth certificate, why don't you get a bank certificate when you're born? You go, there you go, you've just been born. You've got a divvy now in the national wealth because you're part of the nation. You might only be 1 minute old, but there you go. You get a divvy. Why don't you get a divvy? I don't understand. Why is it an exclusive thing? She never points out. Central banks, of course, are like this big authoritative thing, that they're all privately owned. I mean, what? They're owned by a cartel that used to be called free bankers that were causing trouble even back then. So I just thought I'd throw some banking stuff in. I haven't mentioned it for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, this one point you made, Paul, about why would we trust those who got us into this mess to take us out of this mess. A very good point. I would contest one other thing that you said, though, that you said something about blind. They're so blind. Well, no, they're not blind. They're doing everything quite deliberately that they're doing.
Oh, they are.
But maybe you meant something else there with that.
Well, I just meant blind in relation to the goal that they're not really blind. No, they know exactly what they're doing. But from the perspective of the man in the street needs to know that they're blind in terms of seeing us and what the actual real solution is. Because they'll never see the solution that's required, because the only solutions they're looking for is a more effective, efficient and controlling central bank system in private hands. And we go, well, we understand that that's what you want, but none of us want that. So why don't you go and have one with your, 15,000 central bankers? You can do that. And we just like to get a national economy running where we've all got a divvy in it, Of course, then they say, well, this is communism. No, we're living under communism right now. Don't you remember? We've got a central bank that's privately owned. This is communism. So it's one lie after another to cover up another lie and to keep the narrative going. And of course, you've now got, we've lived with this our entire life. The frenetic anxiety over the economy is permanent. My entire life it's been about this, and yours too, no doubt. As if, in spite of all this wealth and stuff that is literally being produced and can be produced better than it is right now, we've got this economic system which causes the production of ever shoddier short-term life goods, because it has to. It has to do that, because otherwise people are not going to turn up in 5 years to buy a new one and borrow money to do it. The whole of the sort of knock-on effect is so complex. It probably isn't really worth working it all out. But in simple terms, if you've got a diseased system, you don't keep sort of trying to make it less diseased. That's all she's talking about. It's not that there's actually an alternative, like forgiving all the debts. How do you just write all the debts off? And cash is great. We're talking about cakes and buns and things that we can touch. Cash is better because it slows life down. They're always talking about speeding everything up. And yet the quality of life is degraded. As it speeds up, the actual moments of richness, where you just even have a moment, where you have a sort of breathing point, they're disappearing. Everything's just literally, high-speed mice in the wheel. Shh, quicker! We need to improve the economy. Okay, we better. It's bonkers. I know I'm only stating the bloody obvious, but there we go. Anyway, there was another one as well that sort of fell on my lap as well. I've mentioned the economist Dr. Richard Werner, German guy, but he's lived and worked mostly in England. He's done some great interviews. He lives actually, or he works not far from me. He's over in, is it Chichester? Or he's maybe a bit further on than that. But he's only about 30 or 40 miles from where I'm now sat. I'd love to get him on the show, but I think the audience size is probably not up his street at the moment. He's a very bright guy, and he's operated at the highest levels of banking, and he's basically a very wonderful whistleblower. That's really what he is, and he points these things out. Anyway, this is he's just done a big interview with Tucker Carlson. I can't play all of it. It's way too long. This is, excuse me, this is just the opening shot where he's talking about something, and it's with regard, it kind of falls more into our bailiwick with regards to the history of warfare. He's just addressing a point with regards to World War I and banking, and this is a known point here, but it's always worthy of repetition. Just listen to him talking to Tucker Carlson here.
The central bank of the United States, the Fed, was created right before the war. What was the role of the central banks during that war?
From 1917, the US and Germany were at war, and their economies organized as war economies. At the pinnacle of the war economies are the central banks. So who were the key players? In the German central bank, the Reichsbank, which was 100% privately owned, was somebody called Max Warburg, or Max Warburg, you might say in English, and who was at the pinnacle, in fact, was a founder of the Federal Reserve, and who was the key person there, Paul Warburg, his brother. But of course, the soldiers have to kill each other, and these two countries are at war.
Wait. The head of the German central bank and the head of the American central bank were run by brothers during a war between the U.S. and Germany?
Yes.
There we go.
Wow. That was a powerful clip. What was the name of the man who was being interviewed there?
Yeah, Dr. Richard Werner, Werner. He's worth looking up and following. He makes appearances all over. There's some wonderful, wonderful interviews with him. He's very measured because he knows he talks banker speak. There was a wonderful interview that occurred with him about 6 or 7 years ago. He's talking to a British banker. Nice guy, by the way. Some of these guys are clueless, many of them. They're really clueless. And they had a sort of a show host. I'll try and find that clip and we'll play it in a future show if I can dig it out. I've got to get my clip archive sorted out because these are very important clips to reinforce this point over and over and over and over again. He's explaining to this banker the money creation process, and this guy really didn't know. And he's the head of some massive investment bank in the city. He didn't know.
Wow.
You see, it's not so much that it's evil. It is evil, but it's greed which creates stupidity. The greed gets in the way of people really seeing what they're doing. And why would they see it? Because they get to drive around in Rolls Royces and wear fine suits and have their shoes polished by people like us, right? And stuff like that. They've grown used to all that kind of stuff. But the fundamental engineering of it is completely shot. Now, Werner is the guy that came up with the term quantitative easing. But he accepts that it's complete horseshit as well. This is what's interesting about him, right? He's a very interesting. I'm going to listen to the rest of the interview with Carlson. I don't know how long the whole thing is. I'm not going to play any more clips from it because I didn't have time to review it. I thought 45 minutes or whatever it is. I can't play that on the show. But he's really a great guy to follow up on all this kind of stuff. And, you know, if we just go back, you see, I thought the many telling little phrases just in that very brief clip, but the main one, or one that really leaps out, is that it's privately owned. And Christine Lagarde is working for the descendants of the private owners of this central banking mafia cartel. It's literally a gang of spivs. That's what they are. They're spivs, they're deceivers. It's a massive deception. And so many people at the top benefit from it that they don't probably even know themselves how it actually works. We've mentioned here, haven't we, before, about Godfrey Bloom, Eric, and his speech about 10 or 12 years ago in the European Parliament, where he's talking to the politicians. He said, the problem you have is you don't understand how banking works. And none of our parliamentarians today in Britain, what's left of it, they don't know either. Now, really, seriously, how are you supposed to manage an organisation as big, supposedly, as a nation when the people at the helm are literally malinformed about the driving pinion behind it all? You can't.
But here's the thing. If they don't understand how the banking system works, I would say that none of us can understand it because it is not understandable. It is complete nonsense, right? Like, it does not make any sense. I'll tell you a little story. When we were in grade school, I'm sure it was elementary school, probably grade 3 or 4, so maybe we were 10 years old perhaps. We were learning through, you know, in our social studies class, learning about the origins of money with very simple stories. You know, that people would be trading goods for shells or rocks or, you know, shiny things, and then they decided it was easier to make a uniform thing that it became money, right? And then it just went on and on, this story, right? Telling a story of that. Then they decide, well, it'd be easier if you know, sometimes somebody doesn't have any of this medium of exchange, but they really need something. Well, we'll do a IOU note, you know, that kind of thing. So borrowing money, that was introduced. And then the concept of interest was introduced in that, you know, elementary school class. And I remember thinking, when they talked about interest and how it worked, at the end of that, I thought, I don't know. I do not understand how this can ever be equaled out. Like, it can never come, you know, the loans, if there's interest on them, can never actually, it will never equal zero again. It will never come back to equilibrium where nobody owes anything, and it doesn't add up. That's the basic essential thing, as my little tiny brain. Yeah. Because, you know, the teacher was very good at it, sort of illustrating by way of a story of how this all, you know, how money works. But that part, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And now I know why I couldn't wrap my head around it. It just will never add up, right? No. Usury. This is the crux of it. And, you know, then, you know, we become adults and we deal with money and we work and we have bank accounts and this and that. And I just always assumed that that's the only way it is that if there's a borrowing, you know, there's a loan or whatever, that there must be interest. I just thought that is the way it is. It's kind of like the sun is in the sky. That just is the way it is. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have this concept that, no, actually there have been, you know, times and places and religions and whatnot that banned usury, that did not allow usury. That concept, I wasn't familiar with that. They didn't teach us that in school, you know, but anyway, that whole thing about usury, this is something that I wonder how much of the population, the general population, you know, normies, let's say, people who haven't really opened their eyes to all the layers of lies that we've been told about everything. Mm-hmm. I wonder how many people actually are aware of that usury is actually not necessary, and it's actually very bad, and it has been outlawed in many times in many places. What do you think? Do you think that people have a vague understanding of that even?
I think we should ask Eric,
Not a
because Eric responds for... What do you think, Eric? Do you think they have a clue? What do
Well,
you think?
not at all. I was talking to a fella on a market stall a couple of weeks ago, and he thought I was a rampant socialist when I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And he said, so I said, no. I said, and he just couldn't get it. I said, they borrow money and you try and pay it back, but they keep increasing the interest rate all the time. So you're a slave to that system. Oh, so you've explained it all to me. I don't need to know anymore. I said, no, hang on. You haven't grasped it.
Did he say that?
And he said, yeah. So
Quick,
I said,
let's shut this
I-
conversation down, was running through his head. Yeah, gotcha.
So I said, so he said, so you're saying that we own the bank and the money comes to us? I said, yeah. Oh, that's socialism. I said, no, it isn't. It isn't. I said, what happens? So you're in favour of the wealth of this country being owned by less than 1%, and it's just drained away from us. Where if the wealth of the country came to us, what could happen is what happened in Libya, where, oh yeah, but that Gaddafi bloke, he was evil. I saw that on BBC News. They said he was evil. I thought, oh, I'll give up. And that was his way he was coming from. He didn't understand, and everything you said he would be against because it's alien to his way of thinking. And I tried my hardest to get it over to him, but he just didn't get it. I said, imagine I was a bank. You borrow money off of me. So I give you a loan. And then when you come back to pay that loan back, I say, oh no, there's compound interest on that. You borrowed $100. I want $150 now. You pay back the $150. Say no, it's $200 now, and it just keeps on inflating all the time. So you're a complete. So he looked at me. And he went, "Well, they wouldn't get away with that, would they?" I said, "They do get away with it. That's what happens." So look, when you buy get a mortgage. I just gave up in the end. I literally gave up, and I've found that is most of the people. You try and explain usury to them, they haven't got the foggiest idea. And that's how
I think it's emotionally crushing. That's what I think is going on with people. I do. I'm trying to see it from their point of view. He's probably pretty smart as a market trader, right? Knows his stuff, can do with all that because it makes sense. It's got logic. He sees things. He puts hours in. He does this. He sells whatever he's selling and all that kind of stuff. This bit.
Oh, yeah, he's very good.
This
at that,
bit. It basically undermines practically everybody's worldview. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're saying, hello, you're thick. That's the subtext. What? Yeah, you're thick. Sorry. It's not even your fault. But when it comes to this topic, we're not even blaming you. You actually are in a condition of 100% stupidity. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to insult you.
This is how I got.
It's literally, technically, the case. Would you like not to be? The thing is that the invite to not be throws you then into a space with people like us.
Well, I walked away and he thought I was some lefty weirdo.
Yeah.
Because I dropped a clang and I said, well, you imagine the wealth of the country comes to us instead of a minority. Oh, yeah, but that's socialism, isn't it? I thought, oh, my God, fathers.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said, so you're in favour of your hard-earned money being frittered away by less than 1% of the population? Well,
might as well
that's
be.
what always, and he was just going, and I was just going around in ever-decreasing circles. I just got nowhere with him. And this is what I found. I've spoken to other people about it. And they just, I spoke to another chap, and I said, look, and this was sometime early, a couple of years ago. And he said, yeah, but if you get a loan, you've got to pay back the interest, haven't you? I said, yeah, but usually you never pay back the interest because it keeps inflating all the time. He still couldn't get it. It's simple. It's so simple. You're just making money out of money. It's criminal. That's basically what it is.
And then here's the thing: when in the big picture, when they say, "Oh well, this or that country is in debt," but China will cover that debt, or some other country will cover that debt, or whatever, and then you say, "Well, wait a minute. Where does that come from? And how can they ever pay that back to that country? How can it ever add up? It can never add up." So then how do they solve the problem? Well, they just print more money out of thin air, right? That's the part that's how they make it add up.
Well, this is basically what World War II was about. It's about usury. Germany could not be allowed to get away with abolishing usury in 1933. Full stop, end of. That's what it was. That's what it's really about.
Leaders from all over the world praised Germany, went to visit the great leader there and see how did he do this economic miracle, because Germany came up out of the depths of terrible time, poverty, and many people committing suicide because it was just so terrible after World War I.
10,000 a week, Monica, in 1931.
Wow. Oh my
Really?
goodness.
10,000.
Oh, that's horrendous.
10,000 women a week were committing suicide in Germany in 1931. Yeah.
See, I didn't know those statistics. I knew that many were doing it. That's unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Wow.
I really feel that is, and it's all over economics, all over. But what happened in Germany? They actually copied what Abraham Lincoln had done, and Abraham Lincoln introduced the greenback, and that's how the North could afford in the American Civil War, because the North was bankrupt. And that's why they wanted money from the South.
Yeah, although I have to tell you, Eric, I'm highly suspicious of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I can't stand a bastard.
I don't view him in a positive light. If you think about it as well, if you think about even, say, the founding of America, what was it about? It was about the pursuit of religious freedom to get away from the king, but also to get away from the king's taxes, right? You can probably see this as a line in all conflicts, is that an aggressive cartel always seeks to extract more from the people than they have available because they're like that. We don't have to go into the whole psychology of it. There's probably a billion reasons. They've learnt these tricks, going all the way back to Babylon. And it's the surest way to literally destroy any civilization. You allow people to run commercial finance services on these lines, and it will literally chew anything up. It just chews it up. It's a disease. It's a virus. It's literally a cancer. It absorbs good value produced by hard work, by people's sweat of the brow, and it goes into the hands of exchanges where it's moved around and it's used as a weapon to actually enslave them even further. So that drive by the people of these islands 500 years ago to get away from here and get over to the new land, to America, was in a way that they were actually seceding, to use that word, because we talk about secession, right? They were seceding from England. Then when they get there, they're doing more stuff, and it leads to this point where we get to 1860-61, and the states, which are actually sovereign, as I understand it, anybody can call in and correct me, the ones in the South, they want to secede because of the way that the North are behaving. In very simple terms, they go, we don't want this. Lincoln is basically, he did the most hellish things.
Oh, yes.
I mean, terrible things to Northerners to get that war going. He imprisoned them. He did all sorts of, anybody that opposed what he wanted to do. Of course, the myth is, he was doing it to fight slavery. This is a complete manure. It's total nonsense.
Spot on.
It's complete guff. Yeah, he's got a massive. You see, any guy with a massive statue as big as that one, you've got to. Whenever you see these big statues of politicians, you've got to really immediately start asking question marks. Who are they trying to convince? Really, seriously. We've got Cromwell down here and Churchill. Honestly, my opinion of those people, those two individuals, is very, very low. And all of them are basically extensions of this ancient money cartel. They are the forces of it. This is how it manifests. And, like what's his name, Werner was just saying, you've got Max and Paul Warburg running private money cartels in Germany and in America. And our lot, are killing one another. And this is what happened in the war between the states. It's one way of expressing it. It's exactly the same stuff. It's exactly the same stuff. The economic powerhouse of the states at the time was the South. But they came up with all these other reasons, to do it. And then if you look at the viciousness of the Northern Army, and if we've got people that are Yankees and everything, you probably hate my guts. And I'm not saying the Southerners were all saints. It's war, right? It's hell. But it's still the biggest loss of American life. But what was it about? It was about destroying their ability to actually have an independent economy along the lines that they needed. And to centralize it, what's one of the tenets of the Communist Manifesto? A central bank.
Yeah. And
It's
why
communism.
is it that's
That's what it
Why
is.
is it that communist leaders, their statues, they're always depicted hailing a taxi? Have you noticed that? Why are they always hailing a taxi? But the thing is, with Lincoln, he had this idea, and this is true, you look this up, that he was going to round up all the slaves, and it's too expensive to ship them back to Africa. So what he planned to do is to literally dump them off in South America, the jungles there. And that was his plan, and he got assassinated before he could carry it out. But that is true.
It does get muddled. I understand. I mean,
Just think of the death toll that would have happened. Just think of how many people, how many poor souls would have been killed because of that policy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to stand back and look at it from a timeline point of view. 1776, the US purportedly gets its independence from England, right? Because they didn't want to pay the king's taxes. This theme's always through everything. It's a mere, 70-odd years later? It's not long. 1860. It's very, very short. 80 years, something like that. And they're kicking 10 bells out of one another because it's been organised for that to happen by the same force that drove people over there in the first place. It just pursues us because no one will get in charge. And of course, the big problem, we're not, unique in this regard, is that the leaders, the natural leaders of our own people, get seduced by all that money, and they go over to that. They go over to the dark side, and they end up effectively becoming the bridge that enables all this warfare to be waged on our own people. Of course, when you get a leader that stops that, then there's literally hell to pay. As we said, Mr. Hitler stopped it. There's all sorts of attendant reasons. You can argue things the other way, but that's a fundamental. That really is a fundamental right there. We've got the same as we mentioned with Gaddafi, these examples over and over again to us, but these examples are not known to the general public, a bit like the guy that you were talking to the other day who just couldn't get his brain around it. And there's so much sort of baggage around the story that people emotionally react, and so you can't actually even get to the point of introducing them to the sickness of the structure that it's always going to bring this about. It's a devilish communications challenge based, I guess, on human psychology and all sorts of other things. It really is. It's not actually that complicated, but you might as well be speaking Greek to people that don't speak it when you actually bring it up, because it just goes against everything that they think they know. It's incredibly difficult.
That's right, but I think they've been conditioned not to understand it, because let's face it, I think Henry Ford summed it up. He says, if people knew the truth about the banking industry, there'd be a revolution before tomorrow morning. He's spot on.
So maybe he was saying that they never will know. They're in a condition, most of the people, most of the time, where they'll never know. They're never going to know, are they? And it's a bit like people that are addicted to voting in democratic elections, thinking that it's going to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's tragic. I don't want to upset everybody who thinks Trump's great and Keir's bad, but they're not. They're all bad. They're all bad.
Well, they don't.
Have you noticed?
They'll never get to that position without being completely compromised.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Through this so-called voting democratic. I mean, and that's the other thing. They programmed us, indoctrinated us to say that democracy was the best system ever, but they didn't really explain a lot of other things. Just going back to your comment about the fellow Richard Valnow talked about the Warburg brothers being the bankers of two opposing countries in World War I, I guess that was. Well, isn't it interesting? So these brothers are funding the war that is a brothers' war. I mean, these wars are all brothers' wars. So I just wanted to... It's
because we're the suckers.
Yeah.
Not all of us, though. We're not, but we're surrounded... It's a most awful situation. It's enough... What's that phrase I read somewhere? I've said it out before. It's enough to make you weep tears of blood.
Yes.
The situation. It really is. It's the most... frustrating, and that's why I have to go for walks, because I just hit this brick going, how how do I get Bob Smith, the greengrocer, to get this fast? You've got to get it, Bob. Because actually our survival is dependent on the great bulk of our own people getting this. And there have been periods in history when they have. And there's, everybody says, well, we've got all this technology to improve the economy. It can't, because the economy is designed arse about tit on purpose. It's designed to harm you and to keep you. Basically, you just get into a more sophisticated central bank digital currency control system than the one we've had before. They were controlling you through paper. They just love it controlling it electronically. But it's not going to actually yield up any bounty in the right proportion. And it's created a sort of an insane type of behavior amongst all of us. I was even thinking about this. Well, I'm going to set up a business because I make loads of money and then I can buy a Mercedes, just for want of a better example, right? That's nuts when you think about it. It's nuts. You go, well, how many people want a Mercedes? Well, we need 50,000. Well, to get them made then. You can all have one. We made them. Because there's a middleman in there charging money, the intermediary, everything gets completely out of whack and you're controlled through your lusts. So you've got the advertising industry now making you want Mercedes. And, I'm not advertising Mercedes per se, but they are noted as being a particularly well-engineered car, or used to be. I'm assuming that still holds true. And people get all panicky about the car market. And now we're going to solve automotive industry by introducing electric cars. No, you're not. None of the things that they say are solutions at all. They're just an extension of the same dirty game. That's all. It's got more bells and whistles now, and it just looks fantastic, and all this, that, and the other. And, even this AI thing, putting all these coders out of work, this is a panic. Well, under the current system, it is, because these people don't know how they're going to earn a living. Why should they worry about it? They should just get a living. Now you say, oh, well, you're talking about universal basic income. Well, I don't know about that, but there should be a universal basic share in the fundamentals of your nation's wealth. And let's look at what Gaddafi did. Gaddafi did that. He said, look, we've got these resources, we've got this oil, we've got this stuff, I'm getting all these revenues coming in. You're my people. I'm supposed to organise the country as best I can. One of the ways I'm going to do it is when you get married and you get a mortgage for a house, you don't pay any interest on it. Not only that, we'll give you 10 grand to get you started. Or you can have a car. And if you go and study in foreign places to learn stuff, to bring your knowledge base and contribute back to the country, you'll get that education for free. We'll pay for it. Because you're going to come back a more contributive person back to your own people. I mean, these threads, I'm not saying that what I've said is perfect there, but isn't that the approach? Isn't that the approach that we're supposed to... The thinking's basically going to keep producing these problems because people aren't asking the right questions. They're just coming up with solutions to a problem that shouldn't even exist in the first place. It's like making a really crap game slightly less crap for the next 10 years, but it's still crap, I think.
Have you ever known any time in your life when the country hasn't been in a financial crisis? I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't at all. It's always been in a financial crisis. From the earliest time I can remember, there's a financial crisis. The budget, it's terrible. And, when you hear the budget, they're going to be putting, you'll be richer by, say, 40 cents. Oh, crumbs, isn't that amazing, And it's just... It's pathetic. It really is pathetic. We're talking.
Anyway, we're coming to the end of the hour. We're coming to the end of the hour, so we're gonna we're gonna play a song. Hold on to that thought, Eric, for beginning of hour 3. We'll just say goodbye to everybody that's listening to us on WBN 324. Thanks for your company for the last couple of hours. Hope you've learned a bit about pies and a few other bits and bobs. The pies are probably the most important thing so far, and all good. And polishing your shoes, so don't forget that. That's very important. The other day, somebody mentioned a horrific song by Kevin Keegan, and I think and I've just seen somebody type Kevin Keegan in the chat, which is very wrong of them, but it spurred me on. Who typed it? Harvey number 1.
Oh, no.
Good grief. I'm sorry. Now, Monica won't know this, but brace yourself, Monica, because this is difficult to get through. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. We'll be carrying on after this. You want to keep listening to the show, head over to Paul English Live and click the Rumble or YouTube links. Here's our Kev. Oh, dear.
Bloody hell.
Stranger, well, that's what there's no danger with all that we've been through, that anyone could love you more than me. But I've got news for you, babe. With all the things you do, babe, make me think of how it used to be. And it looks like I'm falling all over again, head over heels in love with you. Yes, it looks like I'm falling all over again, head over heels in love with you. Will I get through to you, babe? I love everything you do, babe. The same old feeling, this time it's feeling you. And it looks like that I'm falling all over again. Yeah. With you. Yes, it looks like I'm falling all over again, head over heels in love with you, in love with you, in love with you.
All right, everybody, you can unmute now.
I feel sick.
I'm sorry about that, Monica. That was pretty wrong of me to do such a terrible thing on everybody's ears. But I think we've just hit the new low tide musical watermark in the show. It's going to be difficult. But by the way, if you're out there and you know of something even more ghastly than that, please let us know. And in a few weeks' time, when we've all recovered, we will have a go. Yes, Monica, you loved it. Oh dear.
I have to tell you that I might be maybe a little bit challenged because my brain does not compute when I'm hearing music, and my brain does not compute the lyrics. It only computes the
I'm
melody.
the same. I'm the same. I'm
and
exactly
the
the
rhythm
same.
and all that. So I don't even know what it was about. So I'm very curious now. I'd have to listen to it again and then really work hard to actually pay attention to the lyrics. I have no idea what it was about.
I mean, if you take my advice, Monica, you won't spend a second doing any of the things you've just suggested doing. Don't do any of that, right? I've got too high a regard for you to put you through it again.
Maybe you have to tell us what it was about, because Eric and I both seem to be in the same boat here, and I bet you there's a few listeners too. But then maybe you don't want to, because I guess you were quite disgusted.
Well, it's
actually,
I'll tell you what.
Monica,
I'm blaming the person that. I mean, it's just terrible. Somebody wrote Kevin Keegan in the thing, and I remember. So you probably don't even know who Kevin Keegan was. He was a very, very good footballer, and not a very, very good singer. Right, or at least he sung not very, very good songs. Maybe he's a magnificent singer. I don't really know, but that wouldn't have been a good example of it. That was called Head Over Heels in Love, and was, I suppose, 80s pop vacuous nonsense, or was it late 70s, Eric? Something like that. But he was he was a very good footballer, very, very good. Went over to Hamburg, so he's English, but he went and played for a German team. He was one of the first guys to ever sort of do that kind of thing in the 70s. And to probably cash in on his popularity, as a bit of a footballing superstar or whatever at the time, somebody obviously said, Kevin, record this. Aunt Sally, I think, did put it on mute, but I pointed out to her that even jazz will sound good in comparison to that going forward. So maybe we've helped introduce Aunt Sally to jazz, but probably not. I'm sorry about that, everybody.
Yes.
There we go, but there you go.
No, it's okay.
It's good.
It
Really was truly dreadful. It had literally nothing to recommend it, which I think is good, really. It's hard to find songs that are literally bad in every... Oh, you loved it, did you? Come on.
No, because Monica is the same as me. I don't listen to the words. I only listen to the melody, it's strange, but I don't listen to the words with music. But there's one record I think you will listen to the words with, and I think Monica will, and that is I Want My Baby Back.
Yeah, but we can't play that because if this were a
awful.
family show, it'd be the most deranged, sick and evil family that you could ever think about. So, no, we can't play it. It's not. We're not having people singing songs.
That actually won the world's worst... That was actually won the world's worst record on Kenny Everett in the 1980s.
Yeah,
and actually sold with this record could seriously at a government health warning. This record could seriously damage your mental health.
Anyway, are you both recovered now? Is everybody recovered a bit? Have you got your breath back? It did make me feel slightly bilious, and it reminded me of moments like that when terrible songs would come on top of the pops. There were things like that would just crop up in the 70s. You don't get such strange stuff anymore. Actually, I prefer the 70s for that. There's something really probably rather cathartically good about a toe-curlingly awful song. Whereas now they're all so slick and produced and in such a narrow band that they're not toe-curlingly awful, but they're just mind-numbingly dull. I find, but then I am a middle-aged old fart. Anyway, it's good to go from sort of fractional reserve banking to Kevin Keegan, don't you think? I thought that was really quite a good segue, really. Yes. I thought we've probably ruined everybody's health, haven't we? So with that one. Sorry about that, Monica. I mean, you only come along once a month. It's not. It's wrong. It's wrong that I did it, and I apologise sincerely. I'm sorry about that.
I'm just getting more and more curious what it's about now. So.
Well, he's just head over heels in love with someone or something, or maybe he was head over heels in love with football or something. I don't think it was about football. It was, they all had permed hair then, so I think he had permed hair then, didn't he, Eric? Not that I know that you're a hairdresser.
Yes,
he must have. They all started perming their hair.
A bit like my hair at the moment.
Yes, I think your bouffant hairdo is really rather dashing, actually. So, it's good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a shame it's see-through, though. Mm-hmm. It's a shame it's a see-through hairdo. My hair is actually see-through. People don't realise that. I've actually got it shoulder length.
You've got a force field around your head, haven't you? You're basically like a superhero.
Yes.
I understand. Yeah. Anyway, Monica, is there anything interesting going on in Canada right now that you should bring to our attention so that we can whinge about that, or that might be something positive or whatever? Anything? What's the political thing like over there? Is it just as mad and bonkers as it used to be? Have you still got that oaf in charge? Who's in charge?
It's worse. It's worse than ever, actually. It's this Mark Carnage, that is his nickname now, and lots of people are calling him Mark Carnage instead of Mark Carney. I mean, he is the one who in 2022 was advising the prime minister of the time, which was that Trudeau guy, Justin Trudeau, and he literally said at that time, and you'll remember that's when the truckers convoy had descended onto the capital city of the country, Ottawa, and they were there honking their horns and whatnot. So honking horns, I guess that's a very dangerous thing, right? Mm-hmm. Mark Carnage said, it is time to end the sedition in Ottawa by enforcing the law and following the money. And that was the headline of a Globe and Mail article. And so Mark Carnage's advice to come down hard on and to use violence. Like it was the police who used violence, not the truckers. It was a very, very peaceful, peaceful demonstration, peaceful, basically a demand for freedom, So anyway, but that's who's running our country, and there's all kinds of bills being quietly rolled out, and I'm not sure about the status of all of them. There's one that's particularly egregious. It's the Online Harms Act, where you could go to prison for life for something that you might be saying online.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the internet. So yeah, we're very far down this road of Bolshevism 2.0, full blown. And it's interesting times we're living in. I must say it's very interesting times. And I guess the other thing I would mention about what's going on in Canada is, and this is very, very important because it's it's tied to another giant, giant lie, but they're conducting weather warfare against us with their, chemtrailing and their energy weapons and all that stuff. And then when they don't talk about summer anymore, it's only wildfire season. And then they tell us that there's this thing called climate change with too much carbon, and carbon being the stuff of life. I mean, it is so upside down, inverted, backwards. So when they say we are to lower our carbon footprint, they literally mean to extinguish our lives, because, we are carbon-based life.
Yep.
I mean, plants. So anyway, that whole thing. And, it's interesting that the climate change / global warming hoax was one that took me longer to figure out than, some of the other bigger lies that are illegal to question, shall we say, what went on in World War II and whatnot. But anyway, so it took me longer to figure that out. And why, I'm not sure. I guess I just really bought into this global warming myth, and I was involved in the Green Party. All those things, I guess, were factors in it. And I also thought, the things that are being suggested in terms of, lessening our impact, well, that resonated with me, but it was based on nonsense. And of course, now we see what they are doing with it. And of course, this is going to be used to implement the 15-minute cities everywhere, which they are rolling out as we speak. There are many cities already in that status, and it's all about control and surveillance. Those are the things that, and then, you were talking about the digital banking and all that, and the whole banking system, and that's all about, it's all tied together. So this is not just, some side issue, or, okay, it's an important issue, but it's not what we're talking about today. I mean, if the main theme today is the banking system, and then, I've kind of rolled it around to the weather warfare and the 15-minute cities, and that's about control and surveillance. And so the CBDC, is that what it's called? Central bank digital currency. That's all about control of our every move. I mean, and then back to this truckers convoy that I mentioned when I started talking here about Mark Carnage, and that he was the advisor back in 22 when they when they came down with violence against these peaceful protesters. Oh my goodness, I just lost the thread where I was going with that, Paul.
That's all right.
Bouncy castles.
Yeah,
hey,
but
hi, Patrick. Welcome to the show. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
Yeah. Maybe Patrick can fill in for me the rest there.
Yeah, they had bouncy
it had to do with the
castles,
digital.
even for little children. And they'd shut down people's bank accounts. And
yes, that's it. That's where I was going. Thank you. You did. You did beautifully. You filled in where I was going with that. They shut down people's bank accounts. So with digital currency, that's exactly the type of control they'll have in times 10 or times 100 or times 1,000, Yeah, go ahead.
But at least we'll all be very safe. I mean, they're really trying to protect us, aren't they? That's the key thing.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Back to the packaging, right? Package everything nicely.
Of course.
Well,
and
you
Mark,
look at what.
Sorry, Patrick. Yeah.
Oh, Mark. Well, you look at what they're doing in Gaza, and they'll do it. If they're willing to do it there, they're willing to do it here, and it's proven. Like what happened in Ottawa, they brought in people they had United Nations airplanes fly in with all sorts of police forces that didn't even speak English or French, came in as hired thugs and went in. They were beating on the protesters to clear them out, to kettle them in, get them surrounded, and it's it's the same old story, though. If you look at the history of this country and how they had the Indian Wars at a certain point in the 1600s, in the 1700s, there were similar things going on. It's the same old scheme, just in a new context with the technology that we have now. It's a lot easier to go after things like bank accounts because they're all online. But there are other ways around it too, because that was kind of a blessing in disguise, because you had people raising money with Bitcoin and that sort of thing to get them to the truckers to get fuel for them. And people going around handing it out to truckers, handing money out. So it there might be one bad side, but there's another one to counteract it. So that's what we need to look at, the positive side too, as well as the negative. But yeah, I agree. Mark Carney isn't a very good politician in that regard. The Bank of England chair, and then he was president.
Mark Carnage was head of the Bank of England when Liz Truss was at the helm.
He's the one she was talking about. When she said she had no power, he had all the power.
Yeah, he had all the power. I mean, he happened to be the guy sitting in the chair. He was the appointed head at the time. But she pointed out that you can fire the Prime Minister, but you can't fire the head of the Bank of England. So who has more power?
Same with Trump right now. He's making a big deal about how Jerome Powell, or whatever his name is, Jerome Powell, he can't fire him. He has no ability to do that. And then they have Canada, recognizing Palestine. And now Trump is all upset and saying, well, then they're not going to get on our good side with our Canadian trade deal. It's like, well, okay, it throws another monkey wrench in there, because it's like, well, who's the bad guy? They're all bad guys.
All of them.
In there, and it's all a show. It's like WWE. We just had Hulk Hogan die. He kind of represents the American
wrestler.
The wrestler, the American Third Republic from World War II on, what it's become. He's kind of the epitome of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Steroid it up. But then
we've got situations over here. I don't know what I know. I've heard that something's about to be put into play in Northern Ireland, and that they're going to switch them all over to digital currency in Northern Ireland. Now, I could have got that wrong. It might not be everything, but apparently they're going to use that, so I hear, as a space to trial it. We've also got a thing over here called the DWP Plan for Bank Account Surveillance. Now, the DWP is the Department for Works and Pensions. And the way that they're framing this is that they're going to basically find benefits fraudsters, people that are getting paid too much money from all the benefits that the government give out. I mean, this is such a retarded sentence. Why are they giving them out benefits in the first place? Obviously, their system for actually allocating benefits is broken. Why would you then need to go, well, we need to surveil the people that we're giving the benefits to? Well, don't give it to them then. But of course, this is a lie again, because it's just the soft introduction of rolling that technology out everywhere. We've also got a thing called the Online Harms Bill, which apparently is going through, which is to protect children. But we're imminently in danger that anybody that gets offended by anything can file a complaint and you can be shut down. So this is the old commie thing of basically shutting down speech, because what's in that speech is basically going to be ideas that oppose the powers that should not be. And so the game plan's exactly the same. The technology's different. Eric, I was meant to ask you as well. I don't know what's happening in your area, but round here for now the last 2 or 3 years, actually, all the roads have been dug up all the time with more internet cables being laid in. And, of course, they're not internet cables. They're to create the basis for the 15-minute cities or the restrictions on travel. Have you got that going on?
I'm glad you've mentioned... Have we? Well, the town centre, they're putting a road in, and it's just going a couple of 100 yards, and they've been almost a year on it. And you think they're digging down to Australia. Cables and cables going everywhere. Why? I don't know. And another thing they're doing, they're putting cones out, closing down lanes on roads, and there's no works going on at all, just to create a traffic jam.
Same here.
And there's nothing going on.
Our entire
Yeah.
town, Main Street, is closed down for construction. They dug it up. It's like they're going to build a swimming pool from one end to the other, the way they've got it dug up.
Yeah.
And it's been all summer. It's going on.
Yeah.
It's going on 3-4 months
why
now.
is it taking
What's the
so long? I
population
mean,
of your
Roman-
town, Patrick? What's the population there then?
It's like
roughly
1,000 people, 1,100
Really?
people. Yeah. Well,
Wow.
we're the only one around though that's got a Masonic lodge in our town for the next 50 miles.
Maybe it's a Masonic
I'd
protection
imagine.
system they're putting in case us
could
peasants
be.
all get a little bit more, uppity about things. Yeah. Yeah. Have you got any of that round near you, Monica? Lots of roadworks or anything? Lots of cable laying. Is there any of that going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, I'm in a really, really, really small village. I'm actually outside of the village, and I haven't noticed our village streets being dug up.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really been anywhere lately, but Jasper is kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if they burnt down a third of the town, and I really, many people are very, very suspicious of what actually happened there, why the 1/3 of the town that did burn down happened to be the low density housing area. And, a month before that fire, there was a meeting in Ottawa that one of the Jasper town councillors attended, and he came back all enthusiastic about all the stuff he learned, and that Canada had an obligation to make so and so many million new homes by the year 2030 or whatever it was, and Jasper, little town of Jasper, has the obligation to make 200 new homes. Now Jasper is in a national park, and the town boundaries are firmly legislated in place. You don't really have a place to expand into, and it's full. So where are you going to put those 200 new homes? And then, that part of town. Oh, he also said low density housing is a bad word, like for future. And why is it all these new houses are needed in Canada? Well, Mark Carney, that same guy, the Carnage guy, what did they call it? There's a name for it. I forgot the name for it, but the plan is to have 100 million people in Canada by the year 2030. 2100, not 2030, sorry.
Right.
So 75 years from now, 100 million. Now, currently, apparently we're around 40, maybe 41 million or something. That's pretty drastic population increase. And now it's not from our really beautifully high birth rate among the, European stock people. Are you kidding me? The fertility rate is way down, but that would be from all these newcomers, right? The newcomers coming from East India, coming from China, coming from everywhere else,
The
right?
new Indians.
Everywhere but Europe. Not too many immigrants from Europe. There's a few. Sometimes you hear European accents from these new people, but that's the minority. So anyway, all these new houses have to be built, and so places like Jasper. The other thing, I'll just tell you, I was there. It's almost a year ago by now, and it's not that far from where I live, but I haven't been back since it was in September last year, and the fire occurred just over a year ago. It was at July 24th, 2024, and I was there in September, and that's when there were all these white vans there that had cleaning crews, because the insurance would pay for people whose homes did not burn down. They would get these deep cleaning done. And I'm telling you, these people that were sort of loitering on the streets in front of the places, I don't know if they were all on coffee break at the same time, but it seems that as I was wandering through town, they were all just kind of on the sidewalk. They weren't really working very hard. And they were right off the boat from who knows where, from Africa, from wherever else. I don't think they spoke English. They were certainly not familiar looking people at all. And yet there were a lot of Jasperites who were desperately in need of work because tourism was completely zero because the fire had happened and devastated the town. Now, why were all these other people being brought in? And then the homeowners, if they did get this deep cleaning done and the insurance company were paying for it, and then these foreigners were coming in, they might have had one white guy at the head of it, sort of the boss, telling the others what to do or whatever, but there were all these foreigners, and then the homeowners, the residents, had to be out of their homes and couldn't even sleep in their beds at night. They had to be out for the whole duration of the deep cleaning. And it could take a week, could take, it was definitely a multi-day affair. So I just was asking all kinds of questions about what is going on here. What are they doing? What are they doing in these homes? I mean, the natural thing for me, I don't have any evidence of this and I really don't know. But I just started thinking, well, what are they planting in these homes? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I really don't know. It was very, very strange. And then the complexion of Jasper has radically changed, even before the fire, but now it's that much worse. And that part of town that burnt down, many of those people won't come back. Some will. They'll rebuild, but they will be building high density housing there. And I mean, the people, that part of town, that was the established part of town, they were mostly of European stock, Caucasian race people, white people. That was mostly who was living in that area of town. And a lot of them were retired. And, many of those people, they're just not going to come back. So it's really, I mean, I kind of went on a different story here. You asked if they're digging up the streets here where I am.
It's all interlinked, though. It's all interlinked. Yeah. We've got, I mean, it's a slightly different form in all of our nations, America, Canada, here in England and across Europe. But the same dynamic is at play. People are being brought here as part of this warfare that's being waged against us through civil agencies, supposedly, So the indigenous populations are being taxed and being ignored for housing. Everybody else is being given to. No one knows where all this money is coming from. But they don't need to know because the plan is to wipe us out. It's obvious.
Yeah, that is the plan. And actually, you just brought something up that I want to comment. The money that goes to these newcomers, apparently they get, I don't have the figure in front of me, but the amount of money that a newcomer gets for a year, like the government will pay for a year's worth of living and all the expenses associated. It's more than, a lot of Canadians earn or get if they're even on social welfare or anything like that. It is an unbelievable amount of money that they will get, and for nothing. For what? Like, just because they came into the country and who's paying for that? And how do
our enemy is paying for it, isn't it? Our enemy is paying for all this, obviously. Yeah. The enemy is paying for this. All these agencies, whatever you want to call it, the money power is just...
Yeah, but we're paying for it. Like, ultimately, I think that's what you mean, though. We ultimately, it's coming out of our pocket because it's
the standard of our living is to be pushed down, and the resources taken from the people that built these nations and who are the rightful inheritors of them, the stewards of them, quite naturally under the laws of nature. And this is a completely artificial process. It's not, and so their talking heads are always saying, "Oh, this will be good for the local economy." No, it won't. What are you on about?
That's right. No, it won't.
Whose local economy? It's not mine. I'm not even part of it anymore. It's not good at all. I don't want it.
And you will be called racist if you object to any of these people. I say, and you're a racist, and that's the most weaponized word there is. It really is.
Yeah. Although we are laughing about that over here now.
I'm glad.
I'm telling you.
Happy to hear that.
I'm a racist? Really? I'm so upset. Hang on, I've got to get some more Kleenex tissues because I'm going to cry about it all night. No, he called me a racist.
I beg to differ, though, about that. Racist is kind of not the real hot-button word that you could be called. I would say anti-Semitic is more the one that is the real hot button one.
Interesting perception that you have, because I'm having the feeling that anti-Semite is losing its power.
It is. It's all the liberals are getting called it now that are against what's happening in Gaza with this mass starvation. You got people that wouldn't be called far right at all. They have to call them far left or whatever. It's just the moderate liberals that are getting called this, and it's funny to see what their reactions are. You look on Twitter and you see it. It's just.
Don't you? I think it's a good point that Patrick, and I think it reminds me of that classic clip, which I suspect everybody is reasonably familiar with. Eric's mentioned it many times, and it's been around for many years, which is the interview with Yuri Bezmenov about how you undermine and demoralize a nation, and that the left, who think that they're going to be on the winning side, they're all going to be lined up and shot in the back of the head and put into a pit, metaphorically speaking. They don't get it because they literally are useful idiots. They've bound themselves in with an ideology that they don't even understand, and they're so terrified. Everybody's a racist. We've got it over here. I mean, it is, even if we call these people mentally ill, which is true, there is no sort of essence of shame in them. And these people that don't have shame are very scary. They'll do anything. You can't sort of point out to them that they are behaving in an appalling fashion. It doesn't matter because it's coming from someone like me. And you're a racist, so we're not going to listen to you. All this kind of stuff. Are you familiar with this jeans advert that's running around in the States? You must know of it. These Eagle jeans with this...
model, some 27-year-old model.
She's absolutely fabulous looking if you're into all that sort of thing. If you're into fabulously looking, beautiful white women, she's one of those.
But the company that does it, they're owned by the tribe. So
of course,
they're playing games here with that.
I know they are. Their stock price has gone up and all that. They don't care. This is part of it. It's not that there are sides. There are, but they're not the ones that people think that they're on. Basically, you're right. The whole thing is just to create permanent communications confusion and drama and keep switching allegiances so that no one can really define who stands for what anymore. It's just that it's all getting worse. And people sort of pop up and sort of start saying, oh, well, we're going to do this. Oh, yeah, that'll be better. We're going to do that. Oh, you can't do that because you're a racist. And the whole thing's a complete mess.
That's where we have to stand. We have to stand on moral principles. If we lose our moral principles, we have nothing. Mm-hmm. Everything collapses underneath us because if we don't have righteousness and justice on our side, our argument means absolutely nothing. So as long as you're right with God, as they say, you're going to be fine. You have nothing to fear. And that's what they don't like. They want people to forget that God is on their side. That they want to destroy our holy places and kill men, women, children, and our cattle and all this kind of crazy Talmudic stuff in order to demoralize us. Well, we can't let them. It's not going to happen.
It's an amazing campaign. It's a really interesting campaign, though, in terms of the amount of pathetic responses that it's generated. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, Eric. Are you familiar with it?
Are you talking about the jeans thing?
Yeah, it says Sydney Sweeney has great genes with a J. But of course, what they're all sort of up in arms running around, it's sort of the hullabaloo media all sort of wetting their knickers. Well, most of them. Some people don't mind, thinking that the implication is that because she's white and beautiful, which she is, by modern beauty standards, that what it really means is genes, as in Genes, and therefore white genes are better. To which I'm going, well, yeah, and your point is what exactly? It's obvious. But you're a racist.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Great. I have to look this up. I'm gonna look the ad up. So, what would I put in? Just a jeans ad?
Just type in Sydney Sweeney. It'll pop up. It's everywhere. Every newspaper in the world. I've got reports from Australian newspapers. There's a new racist in town. That's great.
The brand, Monica, is called American Eagle brand.
Yep.
Look up the CEOs of it though. And you'll see that it's not organic.
I knew it would be. I didn't even bother looking it up, Patrick. I went, I know what's going on here. Yeah. They're happy to make money out of anything, right? It doesn't matter. They don't care.
Well, yeah. What was the famous saying? Even bad publicity is good publicity.
That's right. Well, their stock price has gone up, or their stock value has gone up $400 million since this has started. So it works.
Effect in reverse.
Yep. And I'm reminded, about that thing about making money out of every situation. There was a fact that Dennis Wise came across with regards to Germany in the early 30s, where, what's his name? Samuel Untermeyer, through a hissy fit, got really, really cross because he found out that loads of Jewish investment firms on Wall Street were investing in National Socialist Germany because the returns were so good. because the Germans were a reliable people for producing good products. And he said, you can't have that. You know, we've already declared war on them. So there was a bit, you know, I'd like to see a film on that.
I think the same thing is happening right now in Russia. I bet you there's just like places getting bought up like you wouldn't believe, because it doesn't make any sense to have these sanctions that they're putting in place, and they're going even harder this past week, where you have this railroad network that's being built from China to Europe, and you have to either go through Iran or Russia to get to Europe, or China, vice versa. So, and they've got sanctions on both of these countries. Well, the people who can get around the sanctions are going to make out like bandits. And I think that's what's happening. I think we're being bamboozled. It's the little people like you and me that are being prevented from investing in those places where the major trade is.
Well, I don't have any disposable income, Patrick, to invest
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Anything, of course.
But if you did, even what little you had to invest, you couldn't do it because of sanctions.
Yeah.
And then you would have, you can do it, but then it's a little more complicated than, and not every person can make contacts in those countries. So we're getting fleeced with these sanctions, and I think the whole war scheme has been played many times, and they've got a formula that works. That's worked.
We're getting fleeced with every single thing that's going on. It's literally a fleecing operation. We're paying for the digital prison, of course, that they're seeking to build around us, I guess.
Well, I think, you know, Paul, it's kind of like what your wealth, how you define wealth. I define wealth as my lack of needs rather than all my possessions. It's like, really, that's what it boils down to with anybody, with the poor, is your lack of needs defines your wealth. Because I don't, you know, I'm fairly well off in that regard. I don't need a lot of possessions, as long as the needs are there, of basics of bread and roof, shelter, clothes, that sort of thing, the basics. Have you ever heard of something called municipal socialism?
Oh, that sounds lovely. Count me in. I like a good bit of jargon. Municipal socialism.
Yeah.
That's the hot ticket. Yeah. I'm very excited. Go on, tell me.
I was digging around X, and I found this fella. I think his name is Tony Arnett, and he's a liberal city dweller in New York City, and he's getting called all the bad words because he's pro-Palestinian and this kind of thing. But yeah, he made this comment that just blew me away, because he's like, we need to go to municipal socialism, which is what Karl Lueger, in the lead up to the Third Reich, was advocating in Austria. Right. And he totally changed the city of Vienna around through his plans that he had in place. And I asked AI what was Karl Lueger's municipal socialism, and I'll give you just 4 quick key aspects. Social welfare. Lueger introduced numerous social welfare institutions, including free lunches for poor children and the creation of public works. 2, infrastructure development. He municipalized gas and electric works, established a public transport system with streetcars, and extended the public water supply. 3, economic policies. Lueger set up special municipal banks to combat private Jewish banks, and used long-term domestic and foreign debt to finance his ambitious public ventures. And then the 4 is the political ideology. Lueger was the leader of the anti-Semitic and anti-liberal party, which later became the Christian Socialists. His political ideal was German Slav Magyar state under the Habsburg dynasty, which you know where that went after he died in 1910. It killed Franz Ferdinand. Federal in plan, Catholic in religion, with the industrial and economic advancement of all the people. He served as mayor of Vienna from 1897 until his death in 1910. So right. Quite a guy when you look at what he did.
Well, he's quite a guy as well when you consider that very few people apart from you ever mention him or really talk about him, including myself. I'm reasonably ignorant about him. But and those were extremely difficult, trying times at that period of history around there, weren't they? Obviously, because it was part of that run up to World War One, as you mentioned. I don't like I don't like all these phrases like municipal socialism, and then what have we got at the moment?
No, I don't. I don't think you
I
use
don't
that.
I know.
It's applied to people.
What's the other junk thing that's been floating around the last? Communitarianism. There's that old stuff. It's all these isms. It's always if it's an ism, it's generally some blokes have concocted it. Let's come up with a better plan for managing things. But obviously, what it seems to me one of the ingredients that's missing is a process for creating better people. I sound like a eugenicist. I didn't mean it necessarily physically, but I mean in terms of just basic education about these important things, which of course is absent in a huge number of our own people, and it makes the system obviously unworkable. You can't. What was the thing that they said with? When they formed the Constitution, it's for a moral people, isn't it? The whole thing has got to, if you haven't got a moral people, there's no point coming up with some kind of a system of civilized behavior and a code for it if it requires moral people to observe it and apply it. If they don't exist, you're designing things that won't work. I mean, this conundrum about how we manage our affairs is... And it does appear to be a conundrum, is everywhere, but it's because we're obviously looking in the wrong directions, or are trained to look in the wrong directions all the time to come up with solutions for problems that are only they actually tend to make it worse.
There's no social progress outside of the moral order.
Mm-hmm. No, there isn't really.
Because you can't. If you're going to say, well, everybody can kill everybody else, there's going to be disorder, and you're never going to have harmony and peace in that society. Mm-hmm. If one person's allowed to kill another person without, facing trial, then exactly. If you don't have a moral people, things like free speech don't mean much, and you see the free speech gets wasted on these terms where people think they can swear. I notice a lot of people, even our president, can swear using the F-bomb in public. We've never had that in our history. A president that just feels he can swear like that. And that just is an indication of our decline, and the potency of our language has declined as a consequence. Where words become meaningless, you don't trust people anymore because their word, you can't take them for it. Their contracts are null, because they're just gonna, you loan them money, they're not gonna pay you back, kind of deal. And the usury is another thing. Like you were talking about usury. That was a given for millennia. You didn't charge people interest on a loan that you paid them. It was scripture said that when you loan someone money, it's charity. It's not profit making. It's meant to give somebody a leg up that's poor in a state where you can afford to give them something to help them, like the Good Samaritan. Mm-hmm. And you have no right to demand your interest payment on a loan that you give out. And really, you can't expect even to get paid back a loan. If you get half the money back for a loan that you give out, you're doing pretty good. Like from between you and me, like on a street level type thing. If you have relatives or anything like that, you've probably gone into that situation where you loan them money because they need it and they're in a hard spot.
I mean, that quality is great, and I suppose we've all had examples of that intra-family when it's happened, which is good. The way that money floats around inside a family, it's just irrelevant. You go, look, just have it. Nobody, you owe me 10 quid for that stuff we bought the other day. Just go, it's coming in and we all need to use some stuff. I just happen to have some pieces of paper. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't. And that's the spirit that you want to live in, when you've got that, people have experienced that, been in the warmth of that kind of situation. I just remember all my aunties and uncles, they never bothered with this stuff. Here you go. And it wasn't an important thing to chase it up or to pester people for things like that intra-family. But you could also see that this leveling of interest on all money, so all money that we spend has got interest sitting on it, has effectively puts all of us subtly into competition with one another. And this has manifested in all these other sort of complications that we've got in society. Like people get extremely combative over money. Quite naturally, it's understandable from their survival point of view that they have to do it. And so we are, in a way, surrounded by more wealth and plenty than we've ever been, but you're denied access to it because of the nature of a monetary system that keeps you constrained, intentionally so. Not that I'm after tons of stuff, personally. I don't want loads of stuff because you have to clean it and look after it and all these things, and it should be down to you to do with those things. I mean, the big wealthy guys that have these massive houses, and England's sort of littered with the history of this in the 17 and 1800s, these huge sort of palatial things that are still existing. They're magnificent buildings. I mean, they're great to look at and everything. But, of course, they require an army of servants to keep them going. And it's all this, you create these hierarchies, which of course, over here have produced the class structure, which is still very much with us. It's probably never going to go away, I suppose, unless something radically shifts in the hearts of people. And, maybe it is a miracle on that level that is required. I'm always open to the idea that that's got to be part of the situation.
Yeah. Well, if you can get people together that are of the same creed, where they believe the same thing, and they know what the score is, and they have the moral, they believe in the 10 Commandments, and that you can be certain that it's like you have confirmation that these people are good people because they live an upright life, and their word means something. When they say something, their yes means yes and their no means no. Mm-hmm. That's the type of society that we're working toward, and as the ideal. And if you have a culture, because this is where ethnicity and culture come into play, because you need to be around people you can trust that aren't going to steal from you, that aren't going to harm you. We need that moral certitude in other people, and that's where the church came in the previous generations, and why there was such a reliance, and there was more dignity and honor in those people. Looking back, you can see it even in the way they dress and the way they perceive life. Mm-hmm. It's much different than we have now. Like you were saying with disposable, Monica was saying about how things in Canada became disposable in relation to her father's culture coming into Canada, and that's respectable. I mean, because he came from a society where it had been Christian for 1,000 years, and coming to Canada where we're relatively new here. We have the savage Indians meeting the Western folk settlers coming in and teaching them their ways, and it's like there's something to be learned from that, and that's what we need to inspire ourselves to. We need that camaraderie too, because if we're just on our own, we're not going to do as well swimming as we will in a ship together.
It's a numbers game. There's an aspect of it that's very much a numbers game, and to try and find a few simple things that have got broad appeal to many people, so that lots of people can take one step forward in the right direction, and look around and go, "Oh, look, there are other people like me willing to do something." It's happening. It's happening not as quickly as we want, and of course, I suppose the anxiety is whether it will happen fast enough. I mean, obviously, the situation in Canada, Monica, is that we don't get many reports on Canada, but the way you're describing it is just that they're bringing lots and lots of people in. I mean, we've got relations over there. I've mentioned this before. Lots of Chinese people are in Canada. And of course, after 20 years of this, everybody gets used to it, whatever I might mean by the word use, but they become acclimatized. You just accept it. And this is the problem. I mean, it's the problem here. And then people go, "Oh, we can't change it." No, we go, "Hang on, we have to change it if you want to be, if you want to have a productive life again." We don't dislike these people, but they're in the wrong location, and they're not here under their own steam. They didn't get here because they said, "I'm going to go live in Canada." No, there's huge agencies at work doing this, and those are the agencies that are waging war.
That's right. It is a planned invasion, and it has nothing to do with, some people still like to call it, oh, that's immigration. No, it's an invasion that is steered and planned,
And they get away with it. They get away with it by demoralizing us.
Well, that's why I said earlier that racist has been, maybe it's changing, but it has been the most weaponized word. It really, really was. It really was. And I think it still is in Canada anyway. So I agree with the morality aspect of, all that you were saying, Patrick. It's very, very important that we have more morals and morality. I would say that is tied very much to race. And I'm not saying that, these other people, if in their countries, maybe they have a morality that works for them, but to mix us all together, it is going to be impossible to have a moral society. It just is not going to work. What I grew up in the 60s and 70s in Edmonton, and I would say that I was very fortunate to have grown up in probably the last generation where, your image that you're using for this is the family, and it's all white family there, and where they're going to there out in the countryside is beautiful.
Yay.
And green and blue skies and
Yep.
clouds, and it's so beautiful. And I would say that I grew up in this utopia that was like that, and we trusted. It was very high trust society, and it doesn't mean there was no crime in the city. Of course there was, but it was very, very different times, and mothers were at home for the most part. I would say that was the last generation where that was the absolute huge majority. Like all my friends, it was the same thing. I out of a class of 30 kids, there might have been one or two that had moms who were working outside the home, and the rest
Same
were in
for
the
me.
home. So
Same for me.
very traditional. Yes. Yep. And that was, made stable families, stability at home, strong societies. That's why I say I grew up in what could be called utopia, although, of course, we didn't know, we didn't understand that what was being laid down, the groundwork for what is now happening. I mean, we were being basically, fatten them up before the slaughter type of thing, if you want to take that analogy, sort of a farmyard analogy. But, we were taught all these wonderful and beautiful things about democracy and how, it's for the people, by the people, of the people. And we were also taught that we have freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And so, of course, that sound like that was perfect, right? So that we trusted everything they were teaching us and telling us, because if we have freedom of speech and we have freedom of the press, that means that if somebody dares to tell us a lie, well, the others will put them in their place because we have freedom of the press. So they will do their due diligence, and it will be a self-correcting system type of thing because you have the freedom of the press. But we didn't realize that didn't really exist because they were already lying to us about what happened in World War II. And I mean, the things we were learning in school, and we were talking about Hitler earlier. So, I mean, we learned in school that he was the most evil man that ever walked the face of the earth basically. And, we believed all that. We really believed it. And it was such a deep conditioning.
Yep, we had the same thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So where was I going with this? It's the racial thing. That's where I wanted to go with this. There is no way it is just not going to work. It does not work. It has never worked. That is the destruction of any culture, any society, is to mix everybody up together. And that is exactly why our enemy, the unmentionables, are doing this. It is orchestrated, it is planned, it is funded, and it is for our destruction. And that is where we need to go is into this topic, So how do we stop it? That's what I'd like to, how do we stop it? How do we stop this from happening?
I guess it maybe it's a matter of finding out where the the big opportunity is where we could make a bigger mark. I mean, last week we were talking about flags over here. We've got these 39 counties, and to restore local culture or a connection with it. I was talking to someone about it the other day, and somebody recently had tried to put up a Union Jack somewhere and had received a complaint, and the police had visited them for flying a Union Jack here in England, right? And this stuff will happen. And it's because there's this huge swathe of people, which we currently call the left or the woke lot, who appear to me currently to be almost unreachable with any of these communications. They can't stay in them without hysterically reacting, because the conditioning is very, very deep with them. Many of them, of course, come out of universities over the last 10 or 15 years. They've had their head full of the most stupid guff. They don't know how anything works, but they know that the white man's responsible for all the troubles in the world, which of course begs the question, if that's the case, why are you all coming here to live with us? But of course, they're not.
Exactly.
They're not coming here to live with us. They're being brought here to inadvertently, while everybody's unconscious and can't work it out, chew the situation down. And it's like, I've used this little term here, which is me being slightly mealy-mouthed, of being a locationist. It's not that we have the energy to hate other people. We don't. But the situation is becoming hateable because there's huge numbers of people are in the wrong location. It's literally wrong. It's wrong from history, ancient history, from cultural values, from reflections in how the landscape looks and how you fit in. It's extremely delicate, subtle, and rich when it's right. And it's being wrecked and replaced by a plastic world with crap buildings, which we're always banging on about. All of these are symptoms and signs of this artificially induced world, which is going to harm all of us, which is the plan. I mean, it's just to produce this homogenized lump of meat, really, called human beings, that won't have a historical connection, that can't connect with their culture. And that's why they react badly. And that's why that person probably called the police, because they were offended by a Union Jack, because they know what it symbolizes. It symbolizes an individual people saying, hey, this just happens to be us. This is what we've got. We're quite happy with it. Thank you very much. And we don't need you here sort of doing your thing. We know you want to do your thing. That's fine. But you're in the wrong place. That's always saying, you're in the wrong place. You can't do it here.
Their character's been dirtied.
Yep, everything. You know,
yeah, I'm wondering though, this flag thing. I don't know what we're gonna do here in America, because it's a little different situation than you have over there. I don't even know where we'd begin, to be honest.
Well, you have to start creating some new state flags. Or you've got 3,500 counties. There you go. You got a big flag business to build, Patrick. It needs to be just. I'm serious. I mean, you got to do something. I mean, I know that, you know, we think of America as either flying the stars and stripes or the Southern flag, and the Southern flag's better, of course. But I'm just stirring it. It's not about all that kind of stuff. We know that the U.S. flag is basically the Freemasons on steroids. I mean, that's what all those stars.
Well, I think on the county level, even they got that much control.
And we've even got talk here of a Muslim political party being formed. They'll allow it. And like I've said here before, these people, the good ones and the not so good ones, and there's some really bad ones as well. Everybody knows about that here.
Well, don't you have
I have
a
no
Yiddish
idea why they've got the
police force
vote.
and
Nobody
ambulance
asked
service?
me. I mean, I'm pathetic when I say that. I do understand it. But
Wasn't
this
Jez
willingness, if
Turner?
we accommodate them, it'll all work out. No, that's actually the worst thing you could possibly do. You're robbing them and us of our distinctive differences. Whatever my moral judgments about their behavior are, I don't want to spend any time even voicing them. I want to actually spend time with my own people doing the right sort of thing. But, you know, if they form a Muslim party, they're just looking at how bovine and accepting the people are, and they go, oh, we can push this one now, and they'll all be in arms, and we'll get our politicians to say, oh, it didn't mean this, and it didn't mean that, for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then it'll be in place. And this is how it keeps on creeping in, and no one can sort of, oh, I daren't speak out because it's so rude. You know, it's so rude. Anyway, look, there we go. It's a good job I've got a timer on this, otherwise we'd just talk forever, which we're going to do anyway. Monica, it's been great having you back again. A slightly different sort of show, but we've touched on some good things. Next time, let's talk about women and race, full on. We'll really plow into
All right.
It's been great having you here. It's wonderful.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Love having you on.
Lovely to
Yeah,
talk
thank you,
to
Monica.
Thanks, Monica. Thank you.
Love having you on, Monica. Always good to get a little bit of insight into what's going on in Canada. It's just pretty much the same as what's going on here, but with a different flavour. We'll be back again same time next week, everyone. Till then, stay safe, get happy, and think about flags, whatever I might mean by that. And we got to bind together. I think that's the first thing. And then get ready for lots of verbal abuse heading your way, you racist scumbags, you lot. So it's okay. I'll stand by you. And we've got to get stuck in. Wonderful. Okay. We'll see you all next week. Bye for now, everyone. Bye-bye.